We are live. It is the 11th day of the second month, the 25th year, plus 2,000 of our thank you. Look out, ladies and gentlemen. All right. We are going to get it going with a little bit of a break, just a small break to start out the day. Thank you so much for being a part of the live stream in the future when it's not live. But thank you for being here now. Shooter. Shooter. Yeah. Cheers to you. That one was pretty much done so already. Two sales yesterday on a Monday. It's past 8 o'clock and no sales today. I don't usually get sales after 8 o'clock. So to get no sales on Tuesday kind of sucks. Means I had a 0% conversion rate today. Somebody saw my products. Somebody clicked on them. But nobody purchased. That breaks my heart. But the day's not over. We still have 3 hours left. A little less. Plan for the day. Complete the 2 orders from yesterday. Get them off to the mailbox yet tonight. Or at about 3 a.m. we're going to do the Dropbox delivery. The past is what it is. It's not going to change. So here's to the future. Cheers. I'm getting down to the end of the bag on this stuff. Got about 2 weeks left, a little bit more, 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks. That puts us at about the end of the month of February, a little bit early. This stuff is over a year old. I harvested this Killer Grape version 3. No, it's not. This is Fruity Rebels. It's Killer Grape 3 crossed by, or Killer Grape 2 crossed by Fruity Pebbles, KG2 crossed by Fruity Pebbles OG. Or wait, no, this might be. This is probably straight KG3. So it'd be a self cross of Killer Grape number 2. Killer Grape number 2 from Subcool Seeds, feminized self crossed seeds, which are a near clone of the mother. With slightly different expressed traits. Which makes you wonder what traits are expressed when you do a self-crossed plant. How could the genetics be anything but an exact clone of the mother? A part of me thinks that it would potentially unleash recessed traits from its last breeding, or just from previous genetics. Yep. And release those suppressed genes. All right. You guys want to see something? Let me just hold on before we get started. Before we get up and we get to work here. Let me just show you something. A couple of things. One, at the end of the day yesterday, we were able to finish up designing our dummy 300 blackout. I've got an exact size and a slightly shrunken, it's a loose fitting. It's been reduced by like 2%, 1.5% total volume, just in case the printer overprints. Yeah, excited about that. That's going to go to print here pretty soon. What else can I show you? All of our product photos have been updated with our new M-locks. So the cross, all right, so we have Rose M-lock. We have the Phoenix in M-lock. I have our vertical standard. That's a huge one. That's so huge. I can't believe nobody's bought that yet. We have a Rose M-lock, Cross M-lock. Where's my deer M-lock? So we do have Black Deer M-Lock available as well. It's kind of a lot to go through to get all this stuff. That's so sick right there. That is super sick. I like it. I do. All right, let's get to work, says the baby kitten. That's what's on the printer right now, and that's what's going to be coming off. Oh, and the kitten is so excited about it. Oh, he's just ready and roaring to go. Ah, he's a kitten. Oh, he likes it. Oh, he likes it. Big chunky baby monkers. Ah. Here we go. Sherlock Holmes. Where's my phone? Yeah. What do we do with it? He doesn't like it. All right. Lights. Camera. Action. There we are. Got the live shots. We are at the workstation. Clean this up just a bit here. Okay. I don't know if this is drinking water or if this is working water. I think it's working water. I think it's drinking water. Whatever.
falling between the dun-coloured houses. I donned my carpet slippers, my oldest trousers, and well-worn bathrobe with the firm intent of enjoying a placid breakfast and settling myself in front of the fire for the rest of the day. I no sooner opened
I can't believe I left that out overnight and it didn't go hard. It was pretty crazy.
About, swearing to himself and tossing a shiny golden coin into the air.
Confounded if I could only lay hands on the villain.
Morning, Holmes. What seems to be the difficulty today?
Difficulty? Moriarty is back in business. Only this morning, Mrs. Hudson received this coin. Here, have a look at it.
A handsome gold sovereign.
Flooding the town with them.
Great Scott, don't tell me Professor Moriarty, the greatest criminal in Europe, has turned philanthropist.
No such luck. That coin, Watson, is counterfeit. A brilliant job, for the pity. Only an expert can spot it. No wonder
Only an
Moriarty
expert
has been
can
so
spot it.
quiet these last 2 months. It takes time to develop a coin as perfect as this.
Well, at least he hasn't had time for murder, arson, or any more of his serious crimes.
Serious? You think flooding the country with counterfeit coins isn't serious, Watson? Do you realize what this will do to the value of the pound?
By Jove, of course. Holmes, that's our doorbell.
Tell Mrs. Hudson I'm not at home.
But Holmes,
I'm not accepting any tuppenny halfpenny cases. Not while Moriarty is threatening the credit of the Empire with his fraudulent gold pieces.
Come in.
Which of you gentlemen is Sherlock Holmes?
My friend over there has the honor.
Whatever it is, I'm busy. Oh, but this is terribly, terribly important, sir. I don't know what to do. He's dead, you see. Dead men do not interest me.
Couldn't you inform his relatives?
Well, that's just it. I don't know who they are. I don't even know who he is. I don't even know when he died. Albert, he's my assistant, says it must have been over 1,000 years ago, but that seems quite impossible. There's not the slightest sign of decomposition. Oh? On the other hand, until Albert and I broke through this morning, no one had been in that room for centuries.
What room?
The Roman baths. I discovered them, you know. The bricks are undoubtedly ancient Roman. Even the cadaver was clad in a senator's toga. And genuine, I assure you. We found him there in one corner. Now, let's get this straight. You found a fresh corpse dressed in a Roman toga in some Roman ruins that have been buried for centuries. Yes, Mr. Holmes. Watson, what are you waiting for? Bring the gentleman a chair.
But you said you were busy.
It'll be irrelevant. This sounds interesting.
Very well. Won't you sit here, Mr.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm afraid I forgot to introduce myself. Here. Here's my card. Read it for me, Watson.
Sir George Westbrook, President L&WA Association.
That means London and Wessex Archaeological Association. Of course. I remember hearing the Corporation of London had engaged you to investigate some ancient Roman remains which you discovered in the Billingsgate section. That's right, Mr. Holmes. They're under the basement of the coal exchange in Lower Thames Street. Albert and I have been burrowing away down there for over a month. This morning, we broke through the final bit of brickwork and emerged into a large subterranean chamber. All right, Albert. I think the opening's big enough. Here, give me the lantern. I'll go through first.
Yes, sir. Why, Sir George, your hand is shaking.
Is it any wonder? I'm excited, Albert.
Baby
Unless
wants his
I'm very
hand
much mistaken, we've unearthed some baths that were built by the early Romans. Yes, well, come along.
All right.
Careful.
We're getting to it.
Wear your clothing.
I'll be right back.
I say, sir, it is a biggish room, isn't it?
Splendid, Albert, splendid. Look at that ceiling, will you? In almost perfect condition.
No, what's that in the corner over there? Looks like a heap of white cloth.
No, there's a leg sticking out of it. Good Lord, it's a body.
We'd best have a look at it, sir.
Yes, but be careful. Don't touch it. Don't touch anything.
What's that white thing he's got on?
Wait, it's a toga, Albert. A Roman toga.
Sopping wet, sir. If you ask me, he's been drowned.
Drowned. You say drowned, Sir George? That's right, Mr. Holmes.
No, but that's impossible. There hasn't been any water in those baths for over 1,000 years.
Interesting. Very interesting. Tell me, Sir George, what was the condition of the air in that chamber when you broke in? Stale, vitiated? No, Mr. Holmes, it was quite fresh. That's curious now that I think of it, because there was no other entrance to the room except the one we'd come through. The The doorway to the rest of the baths was filled by a great heap of bricks and rubble.
You were unable to identify the corpse.
As a matter of fact, we didn't do any further investigating. Albert was quite overcome by the sight of the body. I'm afraid he's never been very strong about such things since the time that mummy disintegrated in his arms while we were working on those pre-Hellenic excavations in Crete. I sent him home and came straight here to consult you.
You mean you left no one behind to guard the body?
No, Mr. Holmes.
What? Where's my hat? Where's my coat? Watson, don't just stand there. There's no time to lose.
I suppose I should have informed the authorities, Mr. Holmes, but the thought of all those stupid Scotland Yard inspectors trampling around in my beautiful ruins like a herd of elephants. I left a couple of dark lanterns burning. Oh, yes, here they are, in this packing case. All right, now, follow me, gentlemen.
Why do basements have to be so damp and depressing?
Careful there, careful. This is where we started to dig. It's a rather rough tunnel slanting downward. You'll have to bend over, I'm afraid.
You're sure that this earth won't cave in on us?
No, I don't think so, unless, of course, someone should give it a tremendous push of some sort. It is where we broke through the wall. You'll be interested in this, Mr. Holmes. Notice the masonry.
Yes. Yes, the bricks are undoubtedly Roman. Let's see, they measure 9.5 inches long by 4.5 inches broad and only 1 3/4 inches thick.
Not unlike those of the Roman baths at Rochester.
Except that there, the tiles are a mere 1.5 inches thick and measure 16 inches by 12. Oh, really, Holmes? If we come here to discuss bricks or inspect a body... Never neglect an opportunity to increase your store of knowledge, Watson. Or stuff my brain with a lot of useless tittle-tattle, not me.
Here's the hole we made in the wall, Mr. Holmes. It's not very large, I'm afraid. I'll go through first and light the way. Now, gentlemen, you'll follow me.
I'll go next, and you can bring up the rear, Watson, with the other lantern. Now then, Watson, Daniel. Don't be in such a rush. Here, take the lantern. It's a tight squeeze, you know. Hello, I think I'm stuck. If you'll pull his other arm, Sir George.
Right.
Oh, you've got to get out of that. I told you should go on a diet, Watson. Oh, just because you're satisfied to look like a walking skeleton, Hello, this is a gloomy-looking spot. More like a tomb than the sort of place one thinks of as an elegant Roman bathing establishment.
Yes, it certainly is more like a tomb at present, complete with the remains of the deceased. Although how he was able to insinuate himself into this chamber...
Yes, quite. A superficial survey of the walls and ceiling certainly shows no signs of any recent entry, except by way of the hole through which we just dragged Watson. Interesting, very interesting. Yes, suppose we view the body we came to investigate.
Yes, he's over here, Mr. Holmes, against the south wall. Oh, watch your step. The flooring here is a bit uneven. Here he is, exactly as we found him, lying on his face with one arm stretched over his head.
Say, skinny old boy, wasn't he? I say, these robes, or whatever it is he's wearing, they are sopping wet. Yes, the poor fellow was undoubtedly drowned. Lungs still full of water. Extremities icy, rigor where it bounced. Well, he's been dead 6 to 8 hours, I should say. Holmes, how about it? Not necessarily. The floor he's lying on is extremely cold, also the air.
Of course, the really fantastic part of the whole picture is the man's raiment. The tunic and the toga with the wide purple stripe. Even the thorn sandals are the authentic garments of an early Roman senator.
So I see. Whoever this person was, he was thoroughly at home among Roman customs and manners. That ring of office on his outstretched hand is undoubtedly authentic. Oh, look here, Holmes. You don't actually believe this is a genuine Roman senator who got himself drowned in this room and managed somehow to stay in this state of preservation? No, Watson. There are several obvious flaws to that theory. In the first place, although the costume is authentic in line, cut, and drape, the woolen fabric of this toga was woven not on an ancient hand loom, but by a modern machine. Second, the liquid in which the gentleman was drowned would have evaporated in a short time, even in very stale air. And third, this room is neither the frigidarium, which was the cold plunge, nor the caldarium, which was the warm. No, judging by the recessed benches built into the walls, this room was the suratorium, or what the Romans called the vapor bath.
But of course, Mr. Holmes. Why didn't I think of that? But good Lord, then how was he drowned? And why?
Suppose we turn the victim over, Sir George. His identity may give us the answer to those questions.
Righto. Easy.
By Jove, he looks good. He's even more Roman from this side. That nose, those hawk-like features, like some rapacious old Caesar on a Roman coin.
Rather accurate and appropriate description, my dear Watson. Yes, this, unless I'm very much mistaken, is Brutus Octavius Bainbridge, the world's greatest numismatologist.
You mean the coin expert?
But of course. I thought the old fellow looked familiar. I've heard he often wore Roman dress when he was lounging about at home. Oh, so that part of our mystery is a perfectly normal explanation. Don't be too disappointed, Sir George. There are several other little questions to be cleared up, the answers to which may be rather more exciting than you anticipated.
What do you mean, Holmes?
Well, for one thing, Mr. Bainbridge disappeared very suddenly from his home one night a little over 2 months ago. About a fortnight later, the British Isles began to be flooded by an extraordinarily clever counterfeit sovereign.
By Jove.
I pointed out to Scotland Yard that there might possibly be a connection between the two events. You mean Mr. Bainbridge was a counterfeit? I mean, as the greatest living authority on coins and coinage, he was undoubtedly kidnapped by a band of unusually daring counterfeiters and forced to assist them in their work.
I thought you might possibly come to that conclusion, Mr. Holmes.
Great Scott! That voice! Where does it come from? Over a hidden speaking tube of some sort, I imagine. But who is it? Unless I'm very much mistaken, that voice belongs to my arch adversary. Greetings, Professor Moriarty. So now you've taken up counterfeiting. Have I destroyed so many of your activities that you're running short of funds?
I've warned you repeatedly, Holmes, that you were getting to be a nuisance. Surely you must have realized how dangerous that is.
But my dear Professor, surely you must realize that danger is the breath of life to me.
This time, Holmes, you've overreached yourself.
On the contrary, Moriarty, if you have gone too far, Watson, get Sir George out of here. I'll keep talking to give you a chance to escape. Was it necessary to kill Bainbridge after you'd finished picking his brains?
Not necessary, my dear Holmes, but expedient. We drowned him. I wonder if Dr. Watson...
Yes.
Why?
Well, dashed if I can. Why not shot or strangle? I say, what's all this about, Holmes?
Get out of here, you idiot.
But I leave you in danger, I should say not.
You see, Dr. Watson, drowning would serve two purposes. It would eliminate Mr. Bainbridge, and it would provide a tastier for Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
What do you mean?
I knew he'd never turn down an invitation involving a corpse in a toga ostensibly drowned in an ancient Roman bath.
Watson, if you have no regard for your own safety, at least have the intelligence to get Sir George out of here. I'm dashed if I understand what's going on here.
You will, Sir George, you will. Sorry to have to execute you too, but I'm afraid you signed your own death warrant when you sent for Mr. Sherlock Holmes instead of Scotland Yard. I rather thought you would, you know. Ah, well, this is what comes of associating with anyone who is foolish enough to think he can outwit Professor Moriarty.
Look here, you old blunderbuss. You needn't think you can bully back Sherlock Holmes or me either.
No. Great Scott, what's that? I rather imagine one of the good professor's hirelings has blown up the entrance to Sir George's tunnel. What? You mean we're buried alive in this sepulchre?
Just like Maida and her young man. Isn't it romantic? You might try singing yourself to death as they did. Such a waste of time, I always thought. What a pity Mr. Bainbridge won't be able to join you. You would have made such a jolly quartet.
Well, that's torrid, Holmes? Looks as though we're entombed in this blasted place until Sir George's assistant turns up tomorrow morning and finds the tunnel caved in.
Tomorrow, my dear Watson, is Sunday, and the day after a bank holiday. Better blow out one of the lanterns and save it for later. Well, this is terrible, Mr. Holmes. We'll be asphyxiated by the time Albert arrives on Tuesday. I doubt it, Sir George. There's a very definite movement of air. Fresh air. Icy fresh air. If you'll wet a finger and hold it up, you'll notice what amounts to a slight breeze. No, I doubt that we shall die from any lack of oxygen. We may very well perish, however, from cold and exposure. It doesn't take long to freeze to death in this temperature.
You needn't be so confounded cheerful about it, Holmes.
Don't interrupt, Watson. As I was saying, we may very well expire unless we can discover how Mr. Bainbridge's body was brought into this room.
What good will that do?
In a passageway large enough to permit the entrance of this corpse, but also serve as an exit for Sir George and myself. You, Watson, may have a bit of trouble.
Oh, you go to blazes.
But, Mr. Holmes, what passageway could there be? As you know, the architecture of the ancient Roman baths was fairly identical. There was obviously only one doorway into this bath, and that's blocked by a great fall of earth and bricks. Quite, but aren't you forgetting, Sir George, the small, unseen, tube-like passage that invariably ran under all the rooms, except the coal plunge?
Of course. The hypocaust.
So what in thunder is a hypocaust?
A smallish tunnel lined with red paving squares, which ran from a furnace outside the buildings under all the principal rooms of a Roman bath. If we can discover some loose tiling in this wall, we may thank the ancient Romans for inventing what our poor, retarded civilization considers a modern improvement, namely central heating.
Oh, it's discouraging. I've dug up 24 spots.
Cheer up, Watson. At least the activities kept you from freezing to death.
Yes, it's ruined my trousers. Good thing I was wearing my old suit. I say the light's getting dimmer. Holmes, the second lantern is about burnt out.
Keep digging, Watson. It's our only chance.
I say, Mr. Holmes, could you come over here a minute? I think I've found a sort of grating under this last batch of bricks.
Good Lord, let's see.
Yes. Yes, we found it. Watson, help me with these bricks. There. Watson, bring the lantern.
Right-o. There they are.
Now then, let's see.
It's black down there, isn't it?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Sir George. We are now in the vapor room. The blocked-up entrance over there leads to the hot bath. That would put the coal plunge on our left. No good going in that direction. When we go down into the tunnel, we should turn right to get out.
Quite correct, Mr. Holmes.
I'll go first. Give me the lantern, Watson.
It's flickering, Holmes. It's gone out.
Very well, then. We'll have to crawl our way out in the dark.
I feel as if I've been crawling like a snake for hours.
Stop complaining, Watson. At least we're not sealed up in that vault.
Well, maybe not, but I can't say this is any great improvement. Oh, I don't ask to stand upright. If I could only get to my hands and knees for a moment.
There's a shallow pool of water here.
How jolly. I could use a bath, only I'd just as soon not have ice water, you know.
Save your breath. How are you getting along, Sir George?
I'll manage.
Now what?
Something went over my hand.
Probably a sewer rat.
Delightful. Maybe we can take it home for a pet.
Quiet, Watson. I think we've reached the end of the tunnel. Yes. It opens out.
You mean I can finally get up off my stomach?
Yes, give your hand.
Oh, I think my back is permanently bent.
Hello? There's some steps here. Steps going up.
And the door at the top. It's open a slit. Yeah, there's a light. Well, there must be another entrance. Ground level.
Yes. Follow me and be very quiet. Better have your revolver handy, Watson. This may well be the most dangerous part of the entire adventure. Easy now. Let's have a look through the crack before we open the door.
It's a large, bare-looking place. And what's all that machinery?
Those are melting furnaces, presses, weighing apparatus, rolling machines. And on the far side are the acid and water baths in which Bainbridge was undoubtedly drowned. In short, you see before you a very complete mint for the coining of counterfeit money.
Mr. Holmes, who's that sinister-looking man stepping out of the shadows? There. Look, he's adjusting a jeweler's magnifying glass in one eye. Now he's hunched over a pile of golden coins. Good Lord, his head oscillates from side to side like a snake.
Enjoying the fruits of your labor, Moriarty?
You, Holmes.
You didn't expect us to return your call quite so promptly, eh, Professor? Don't bother to reach for that acid. Watson has you covered. Better put your hands up. That's right. Now, you'll come around that table. Slowly. That's right. I have a little present for you. A pair of bracelets that...
Through the window!
Shoot, Watson, shoot, Conrad.
I can't.
Why not?
Well, blast it all, you asked me out of the house in such a dither this
bars, I'll have no opponent worthy of my talents. I should probably die of sheer boredom.
You mean sheer conceit?
And now, here we are again on our usual visit to Dr. Watson. He's waiting for us in his study, a cheerful blaze crackling on the hearth.
Very relieved to see you, Mr. Manning. Hasn't the weather been atrocious today? I was beginning to wonder if you'd be able to get here tonight through all this fog.
Yes, it certainly is what you Londoners call a regular pea souper.
Yes, indeed. It reminds me of the adventure of the missing submarine plans. A case that was solved in the underground.
Underground?
What you Americans call a subway.
Yes, but what has a solution in a subway got to do with a foggy night?
Well, you see, the affair started in weather exactly like this. It was the third week in November, the year 1895, to be exact. On Monday, a dense yellow fog had settled down upon London. On Thursday, it was still there, thicker and murkier than ever. At first, Holmes had turned his nervous energy to cross-indexing his huge reference books. But when, after pushing our breakfast chairs back for the fourth morning, we saw the greasy brown swirl still drifting past the windows, Holmes's patience snapped. Holmes, if you must pace around in circles, I wish you'd change directions now and then. You're making me dizzy.
It's inexcusable, Watson. Inexcusable. No initiative, no imagination. Nothing ever gets done.
If you're alluding to the inactivity in this last session of Parliament, my dear Holmes...
I'm not speaking of our lawmakers, Watson, but of our lawbreakers. The London criminal is certainly a dull fellow.
What makes you say that?
Well, look out of the window. Ideal weather for committing a crime. The criminal advances on his intended victim practically unseen. He pounces and disappears into thin air.
There have been numerous petty thefts.
Really? Petty thefts, pickpockets, ragamuffins. What's the country coming to? Now, if I were a criminal, Watson...
Well, I, for one, would move to America.
Oh, hello. Mrs. Hudson is knocking. Excited. What's up, I wonder? Mrs. Hudson, what is it? Oh, it's a telegram for me.
Yes, sir.
Very well, thank you.
Oh, well, what's it say?
Oh, wait till I open it, can't you? Ah, dear me, what next? Most unusual, Watson, most unusual.
What's most unusual, Watson? What's it say?
Well, it's from my brother, Mycroft. You remember him? He helped us solve the case of the Greek interpreter. He's coming here.
Why not? What's so phenomenal about that?
Why not, indeed? It's as startling as it would be to meet a tram car coming down a country lane. Yes, now I come to think of it. Mycroft is rather like a tram car. His rails lead from his Pall Mall lodgings to the Diogenes Club in Whitehall. That's his circle. I wonder what upheaval could have derailed him.
Doesn't the telegram explain?
It says, must see you about Cadogan West, coming at once.
Cadogan West? Cadogan West? Why, that's the young chap who's found dead in the underground on Tuesday morning. I remember reading about it in the papers.
Oh?
The young man had apparently fallen out of the train and killed himself. He hadn't been robbed, and there was no reason to suspect violence. Quite an uninteresting case, if I remember
And
correctly.
yet, it's serious enough to cause Mycroft to alter his habits. No, Watson, this must be an extraordinary event. Do you recall any other facts about the affair?
Yes, I come to think of it, there was one unusual bit came out of the inquest. They were unable to ascertain at what point he entered the train, because his ticket was missing.
Strange. What articles were found on the body?
£2.15, I believe it was, a checkbook, and... Oh, yes, 2 dress circle tickets for the Woolwich Theatre, dated for that evening.
Theatre tickets, eh? Then it wasn't suicide. A man doesn't procure theatre tickets for the evening on which he intends to end his life. Anything else?
A small packet of technical papers.
Technical papers? What kind of technical papers?
The newspapers didn't say.
As serious as that. What did the young man do? Where was he employed?
He was a clerk at Woolwich Arsenal.
Government employee. There we have it, Watson. British government, Woolwich Arsenal, technical papers. That's why Mycroft is involved in this affair.
I don't understand.
No, I suppose not. Watson, have I ever told you what Mycroft is?
Your brother, of course.
No, Watson. Do you have to be so dense? I mean, do you know what he does?
I seem to have some vague recollection that you once told me that he'd held some small office under the British government.
It would be more accurate to say, in a way, that he is the British government.
What?
His position is unique. He made it for himself. As the tidiest and most orderly brain of any man alive, with a great capacity for storing facts and giving them the proper interpretation.
The conclusions of every government department are passed on to him. He's the central exchange, the clearinghouse. Again and again, his word has decided the national policy. He thinks of nothing else. Nothing else can lure him from his contemplations.
Yet he's coming here.
Yes, Jupiter is descending on us today.
What on earth? Heaven help us.
And Watson, that sounds suspiciously like a bad pun. Here he is, if I'm not mistaken. To speak for himself. Come in, come in. Hello, Mycroft. What's up? What's up? You look flustered.
Most annoying business, Sherlock, most annoying. You know how I dislike altering my habits. Extremely awkward for me to come away from the office, particularly with Siam in its present state. Oh, dear me.
Yeah, sit down, Mycroft, sit down. You know Watson, of course.
Yes, of course. I'm trying to find a chair that I can trust to hold me.
I'd better take the sofa. You certainly haven't got any dinner.
I've never seen the Prime Minister so upset. As for the Admiralty, it's buzzing like an upset beehive. You know anything about the case?
Watson's just been telling me what was in the newspapers. Just what were the technical papers found on the body?
Sherlock, for the love of heaven, not so loud. Those papers which the wretched youth had in his pocket were none other than the plans of the Bruce Partington submarine.
Oh?
The submarine which will completely revolutionize naval warfare. The most important papers in our government archives. Under no circumstances could it be removed from the office. Even the chief constructor of the Navy was forced to go to Woolwich if he desired to consult them.
And yet we find them in the pockets of a dead junior clerk in the heart of London. Yeah, from an official point of view, it's deplorable, my dear Mycroft. Simply deplorable.
You may laugh, Sherlock, but this country won't be safe until they're recovered.
I thought you said that they were found in the pocket of this chap, Cadogan West.
10 papers taken from Woolwich. 7 were found in the pockets of Cadogan West. 3 are still missing, the 3 essential ones. To recover those 3 papers is imperative. The peace of Europe depends on them.
Nice little problem, eh, Watson? Why did Cadogan West take the papers? How did he die? How did his body reach the place where it was found? And where are the missing papers?
Find the answer to those questions, Sherlock, and you will have done your country an invaluable service.
Why don't you solve it yourself, Mycroft? I believe you could.
Possibly. But it's a question of digging out details. Give me the details, and I can give you the solution from an armchair. No, when it comes to running about and cross-questioning railway guards and lying on one's face with a lens to one's eye, no, that's not my nature.
Besides, your figure prevents your taking such an undignified position, eh? Very well. Leave that part of it to us, eh, Watson?
Sure.
Good. I've got a cab waiting outside to take the place where the body was found. I can give you the details on the way.
Now, Mycroft, who was the official guardian of these famous papers?
No less a personage than Sir James Walter, gentleman who has grown grey in the service. His patriotism is beyond suspicion.
A bachelor, if I'm not mistaken, lives with his brother.
Yes. He was at the house of Admiral Sinclair at Berkeley Square during the whole of the evening when this accident occurred. The Admiral vouches for him. He's one of the 2 who have the only keys to the safe.
And his key was with him all evening?
Right. His key, the key to the building, the key to the room.
Who was the man with the other key?
The senior clerk, Mr. Sidney Johnson. Man of 40, married, silent, morose, with an excellent service record.
Any alibi?
He too had his key with him. Seems to have spent the evening playing a game of drafts with a green grocer around the corner from his lodgings. Of course, he has only the word of this green grocer to back him up.
Oh, come, my dear Mycroft. No class discriminations, please. The word of a greengrocer is often just as good as that of an admiral. And what about Cadogan West?
He had a good reputation, a bit hot-headed, but straight and honest. At least, everyone thought so. He was next to Sidney Johnson at the office. His duties brought him into daily personal contact with the plans. No one else ever had the handling of them.
Oh, it's perfectly clear. He must have taken...
Not so fast, Watson, not so fast. Who locked them up that night?
Mr. Sidney Johnson.
They were of value, commercially, I mean.
Oh, yes. There's no doubt that West could have got several thousands for them very easily.
And yet, only a small amount of money was found on the body.
Perhaps the buyer took it back after he'd murdered West.
What puzzles me is, how did West obtain possession of those papers? To do so, he must have had a false key.
Several false keys, Sherlock. He had to open the building and the room as well.
Oh, well, several false keys then. Let me see. Suppose West did take the papers and went into town. On the way back to Woolwich, where he is hoping to replace the papers, he's killed and thrown from the train.
But the spot where the body was found is considerably past the station for London Bridge, which is the route to Woolwich.
It's interesting. Also, if young West did make an appointment with some foreign agent to sell the papers that night, why didn't he keep the evening clear? Why buy 2 theater tickets?
Exactly. Furthermore, he actually escorted his fiancée halfway there before he disappeared.
Blind. That's what it looks like to me.
Why did he take the papers at all? Why not copy them out in the office and sell the copies? He certainly had plenty of opportunity to do so. And why the absence of his underground ticket?
That ticket would have shown us which station was near the agent's house. So the murderer destroyed it.
Good, Watson. Very good. Yet, I wonder.
Well, here's the underground station. The railway authorities have sent a man round to show the exact place where the body was found.
You want to change your mind and come with us?
Crawling round that black hole on my hands and knees? Not very likely. Well, I shall expect a report on your efforts this evening.
Never expect too much, Mycroft. Never expect too much.
Before we follow Holmes and Watson into the mazes of the London subway system, I have a word of advice. Every year, colds cause a lot of sickness. Every year, they cause a lot of expense and time lost from work. Always regard a cold seriously. Always treat it earnestly. At the first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Bromoquinine tablets are famous relief for the distress of a cold. Their efficacy has been fully established. Bromoquinine tablets go right to work on a cold symptom. They don't waste any time. They don't pull any punches. They quickly relieve the misery of a cold. They help reduce the fever of a cold. Thousands of people keep bromoquinine tablets handy all winter. Thousands of people depend on them as their relief for colds. No other preparation enjoys greater confidence than bromoquinine tablets. Follow the example of millions, and at the first sign of a cold, take Grove's bromoquinine tablets. Get them at any drugstore, a few cents a box. Ask specifically for Grove's, Groves, Bromo, Bromo, quinine, Quinine, Grove's bromoquinine tablets.
This way, sir. Step right along the tracks. It isn't safe. Supposing a train should come shooting round that curve. Oh, that's all right, sir. There won't be another for 5 minutes anyway. There we are, sir. This is where they found the body. Right here alongside the rails. Lying on its face it was. Spooky old place, eh, Holmes? Like the catacombs, only without the skeleton.
Yeah. Anything in his hands when they found him?
No, sir.
Were they clenched? Or spread out as if he were protecting himself?
No, sir. There was what you might call relax.
What time did all this happen?
Well, sir, the train he was hoisted out of, as near as we can figure, passed along here about midnight on Monday.
All the carriages have been examined for signs of violence, I suppose.
They didn't find nothing, not even the missing ticket. There was a passenger to Aldgate on the ordinary train. About 11:40 it was. He said he'd heard a heavy thud, like something striking the line, just before the train reached this station. But it was so foggy, he said he was blessed if he could see what it was. Oh, what's the matter? What are you staring at?
The curve, Watson. The rails.
Oh, what do you mean?
I suppose there aren't many curves as abrupt as this.
No, sir, I can't say as there is. What have curves got to do with it?
Oh, an indication, Watson, merely an indication. Unique. Perfectly unique. And yet, why not? I don't see any indications of bleeding on the line.
No, sir, there wasn't any to speak of.
But I understand there was a considerable wound.
The bone was crashed right enough. Holmes, hear that? It's a train. It's coming this way. Run, sir. Run for your life. Yes, sir. Where? Up ahead. There's a place where the train switches on. What's to run? It's just around the curve. We'll never make it. Yes, we will. Faster, faster. There's the switch up ahead. Come on. Here comes the train now. We'll make it. We'll make it. Just in once. For the love of heaven. You're on the wrong track. Well, that was a narrow escape, Holmes. I must say my knees are still shaking. Look at the shoulder of my coat where you pulled it there.
Lucky thing for you that I did.
Where are we off to now? And then this fog.
Yes, it's a nice afternoon. Suppose we pay a few calls. I think Sir James Walter claims our first attention. After that, we might drop in on Miss Westbury.
Miss Westbury? Who's she?
She is Cadogan West's fiancée and the last person to see him alive.
Holmes, we seem to be going around in circles. We've accomplished absolutely nothing so far except to get ourselves nearly annihilated in the underground. After all, it's perfectly obvious the young man had a quarrel with someone, in all probability the agent, to whom he sold the papers. He got himself thrown out of the railway carriage for his pay.
I disagree with you, my dear Watson. His body fell from the roof of the carriage where it had been placed. Cadogan West met his death elsewhere.
The roof of the train?
Consider the facts, Watson. A, the curve in the tracks. The body is found at the spot where the train pitches and sways as it comes around the points. B, there's no ticket. C, there were no signs of bleeding on the line because the body had bled elsewhere.
Of course. Everything fits together, but where was the body placed on the train?
I think I can make a fair guess of that, my dear Watson. Here we are. This is the famous official villa of Sir James Walter. And that, if I'm not mistaken, is his brother, Colonel Valentine, just coming out of the house.
What's the matter with him, Matty? He looks possibly haunted.
Oh, pardon me, Colonel Valentine, but can you tell me if Sir James is at home? Sir James? Sir James is dead. Good heavens, dead? He died this morning. It's terrible. Terrible. How did he die? Oh, it's this horrible scandal. My brother, sir, was very sensitive of his honor. He couldn't survive the disgrace to his department. It broke his heart. Pardon me, gentlemen, I must go. It broke his heart.
Most appalling development. Eh, Holmes?
I wonder if his death was natural, or if the poor fellow killed himself.
Yes?
Will you tell Miss Westbury that Mr. Sherlock Holmes would like to see her?
Oh, please come in, gentlemen. I'm Val Westbury, Mr. Holmes. I've been expecting you ever since I heard you had taken the case. Please be seated.
Well, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Holmes, we must save his good name. He couldn't have done it. Cadogan was the most chivalrous, patriotic gentleman on earth. He couldn't have done it. He would have cut his right hand off rather than sell a state secret.
But the facts, my dear Miss Westbury.
I admit I can't explain them.
Was he in need of money?
No, Mr. Holmes. His needs were simple and his salary very good. He'd saved several £100. We were to be married at the new year.
I see. Had you noticed any signs of mental excitement?
Well, that is...
Come, Miss Westbury, be frank with us.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. That night, I had a feeling that there was something on his mind.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about it, will you?
We were on the way to the theater. It was a foggy night, you remember? We were walking slowly. Our way took us close to his office. Cadogan seemed thoughtful and worried. Darling, what's the matter? You haven't said a word for the last 5 minutes. Have I said or done something?
Of course not, silly. It's just that I've got something on my mind.
Oh, why not tell me about it? Perhaps I can help.
It's no use, Vi. It's too serious for me to talk about, even to you.
You know, sometimes, Katie, I feel just the least little bit jealous of that old job of yours. When you're cooped up in that building all day.
Oh, now you're not going to be jealous of the building.
Well, not really. But it is funny to think of a husband having secrets he can't tell his wife.
Mighty important secrets, I can promise you. There's one in particular that any foreign spy would pay good money to get hold of.
Really?
Well, I don't know. They're awfully slack about some things over there in that building, about it. Much too slack. It would be too confounded easy for a traitor to get his hands on those plans.
What plans?
Never mind, darling. I guess I'm getting a bit melodramatic. There's something been worrying me. Hello, what's that?
What's what?
Over there, that shadow moving along the side of the building. It's a man. So that's it. I always suspected.
Oh, what's the matter? You're so excited. What's wrong?
Stay here, Violet. There's something I have to find out. Stay here.
It was the general himself.
I waited and waited, but he never returned. Oh, Mr. Holmes, if you could only save his honor, it meant so much to him.
We shall do our best, Miss Westbury. This shadow, this man moving along the building. Did you see it too?
I think I did, Mr. Holmes. But the night was so foggy, I can't be sure. But there must have been a man. Another man. It couldn't have been Cadogan. Surely character goes for something.
Let us hope so.
Oh, Cadogan.
Come on, Watson. We must return home. I'm expecting an answer to some telegrams I sent Mycroft earlier this afternoon. We've done enough for one day.
Holmes, where have you been all day? You left this morning before I was up. Now you've come home with your towel awry, your suit torn, and as ravenous as a wolf.
Yes. I've had a bit of exercise, my dear Watson. Pass me the tongue, will you? It would have done you good to go along.
Yes, what were you doing?
Investigating the premises inhabited by foreign spies known to have been in London on last Monday. Mycroft sent me a list of them. Took a bit of doing, too. Climbing walls, breaking into cellars, prowling around rooftops.
Well?
I discovered there was only one residence which had the proper facilities for disposing of West's body after the murder.
Well, whose residence was that?
It belongs to a Hugo Oberstein. The address is 13 Corfield Gardens, Kensington. The gentleman himself has departed for Europe.
Gone, has he? He took the plans with him. It's too late.
Not necessarily, Watson.
What can we do now?
We're going to keep a rendezvous with the gentleman who stole and sold those plans. The assignation will take place at Mr. Augustein's house this evening at 9.
What the deuce are you talking about?
These newspaper clippings, I found them in the drawer of Hugo Augustein's desk. Read them.
From the Daily Telegraph agony column. The first one says, too complex a description must have full report, terms agreed to, payable when goods delivered. Signed, Piero. Piero, indeed. Sounds like a Mardi Gras.
Read on, Watson, read on.
Second goes, matter presses must withdraw offer unless contract completed. Piero again.
And the last, dated Monday, the day the crime was committed.
Monday night after 9, 2 taps, payment in hard cash. I say, do you think it was a submarine that the plans that he was buying?
I'm almost positive. And Piero was Oberstein himself. But we'll find out for certain this evening. I've invited the gentleman who sold the papers to meet us.
How? I don't understand.
Inserted this advertisement in today's Daily Telegraph. Tonight, same hour, same place, 2 taps, vitally important. Your own safety at stake. Signed, Piero, as usual.
By George, if he answers that, we've got him.
Unless we're too late. Come on, Watson. There's no time to lose. You can take this package for a change. I've been carrying it around all day.
What's in it?
Oh, just a jemmy, a dark lantern, a chisel, and a revolver.
Nice equipment for a respectable citizen to be carrying about the streets of London, I must say.
Yeah, you know, Watson, there are times when I suspect we aren't quite respectable. Here we are, this coffee fountain.
It's so foggy. I shouldn't like
Still
to
a little
go there.
sticky.
Love's breaking.
Yeah. Oh, this wall, Watson. There's a window we can easily pry open in the back.
Scale that wall.
Come on, hurry up. There's no time to lose. Here. I'll give you a boost. Come on, up you go. Good. That's it. Look out, here I come.
Here I come.
I must say, Holmes, you're as agile as a cat. It's uncanny.
This is the window. Light the lantern and give me the jemmy. 1, 2.
Holmes, the underground runs right past here, almost on the level of these windows. I can reach out and touch it.
Yes, quite convenient, wasn't it? It was here the body was placed on the roof of the train. Now, look on this windowsill. You can see the soot is blurred with the rest of the body. And here, look. This brown stain is blood.
Nasty, Holmes. Let's get on to the house.
Very well, then. Come along. The window's open. Easy, don't break the glass.
Supposing Oberstein should happen to return home.
Well, we must take our chances in this business. Come along, Watson, come along. Our visitor will expect to be let in by the front door.
I wish these stairs didn't squeak so.
9 o'clock. We can expect him at any moment now. You take your position on one side of the door. I'll be on the other. So we can pounce on him when he enters. I'll throw my greatcoat over his head.
I wish he'd hurry.
Shh, Watson.
What if he doesn't come?
There he is. Ready now. I'll open the door. You wanted me?
No, you don't. Take that.
Easy, Watson, easy.
All right, Holmes, I've got him.
Well, let's take a look at that catch. Take the overcoat away, Watson.
Right. Hi. It's Colonel Valentine Walter. Sir James's brother.
Right. Well, sir, what have you to say for yourself? Why did you steal the Bruce Paddington plans?
What do you know about this?
I am Sherlock Holmes, and I know everything.
Oh, this is terrible. I'm lost. I didn't realize their importance until my brother killed himself. But I needed the money. I had to have it. Oberstein offered to give it to me if I let him see the plans.
So you took an impression of your brother's key, opened the safe, and procured the papers. Cadogan West saw you leaving the building, followed you here, and you killed him.
No, I didn't do that. I swear I didn't do it.
No? Then perhaps you better tell us who did murder Cadogan West and placed him on the roof of the railway carriage.
I'll tell you. I promise you I will. I did the rest. I confess it, but not that.
Very well, then. How did it happen?
I got the papers, as you've discovered. Made my way through the fog until I reached the door. Once or twice, I fancied I was being followed. I could hear footsteps on the pavement behind me.
Colonel Walter?
Yes?
You have the papers?
Yes, let me in, quick. I think someone's been following me.
Yes, it's me.
You can't do this, Valentine. It's treason.
All right, you hear?
No, you can't sell the papers, Valentine. I won't let you.
They should see.
Look out. Take that. Oh.
How do you like that, my impetuous young friend? Papa Oberstein, he knows how to use a blackjack, eh?
You killed him.
So?
It's murder. I'm going to get out of this.
Oh, no. I think different. You will come in here if you do not wish to taste the blackjack, too.
But I...
That is better.
Oh, what can we do? They'll find the body.
I have an idea. First, I look at those papers. I take the ones I want, and the rest you put in the pocket of this foolish young man. And then we give him a nice ride on top of the underground train, no? He will be the guilty one. Who will ever know?
What a thoroughly unpleasant gentleman. What a pity that he got away with the papers, Dr. Watson.
No, but he didn't. Oberstein had left a Paris forwarding address with Colonel Walters. That gentleman sent him a letter dictated by Holmes. saying that he had discovered that one essential detail in the plans was missing, and that he had procured a tracing which would make it complete for a price.
And did Oberstein swallow the bait?
Did he swallow it? He was arrested as he got off the boat at Folkestone. Some weeks later, I learned incidentally that Holmes had spent a day at Windsor Castle and returned with a remarkably fine emerald tie-pin. When I asked him where he got it, he answered it was just a small present from a certain gracious little old lady for whom he'd been able to do a small favor.
Yes, and I think I can guess the lady's august name.
Elementary, my dear Mr. Manning, elementary.
And now let's drop in on the good Dr. Watson, who's waiting for us in his California ranch house. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Mr. Foreman. Come in and make yourself at home.
Thanks, Doctor. Sitting here with the lights off, I see. You've been getting yourself in the mood for tonight's Sherlock Holmes story?
No, my boy, I was watching the sunset. It's quite beautiful tonight.
I doctored the sun set over an hour ago.
Yes, I know that, young fellow, my lad. I know that. But at my age, a fellow's entitled to take a little snooze after dinner, isn't he?
Of course he is, Doctor. And now that we've settled that, how about tonight's story?
Well, a very beautiful girl figured prominently in this adventure, Mr. Foreman. Her name was Jasmine Lafleur.
Huh? Say that again, Doctor, please.
I know, my boy, but that was her stage name. When she was a magician's assistant, unfortunately, I never had the opportunity of seeing Jasmine Lafleur in the theater. But I'm told that she was a fascinating figure in tights and spangles. When Holmes and I first met her, however, she was dressed a little more conventionally. And her name was then Diana Venery. Lady Venery.
Lady Venery. Hey, those tights and spangles really paid off, didn't they? Well, how did you and Sherlock Holmes come to meet up with her, Doctor?
In rather spectacular style, Mr. Foreman. Miss Lafleur became something of a femme fatale in the early 1900s. First of all, she married Signor Rossoni, the magician for whom she was working. On the wedding night, he was mysteriously stabbed to death. A few months later, Madame Rossoni, very fetching in her widow's weeds, I'm sure, met Sir Wilfrid Venery. And, after a whirlwind courtship, she married him.
Don't tell me he got murdered, too.
He did, Mr. Foreman. Also on the night of the wedding. But this time the police found a suspect. It was a certain Major Beckworth, cousin of the dead man, and an ardent suitor of the fair Diana. The trial at the Old Bailey was one of the most sensational I ever remember. Sherlock Holmes and I, in court on the closing day as the jury, were still considering their verdict. Holmes, the jury's been out over 8 hours. I bet you they can't agree on a verdict. There'll be a new trial.
I think not, old chap. Look, here they come now. You know, there's a strong moral probability of guilt, but I'm sure they'll agree that there's insufficient evidence to convict.
Oh, that's you're right. Just look at Lady Venery down there ahead of us. What a stunning woman.
Yes, and a woman of great poise and courage.
Here it comes.
Gentlemen of the jury, have you arrived at a verdict?
We have, my lord.
How say you? You find the defendant guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Exactly. Come on, Watson. Let's get a breath of fresh air.
I was wondering perhaps if we shouldn't go over and congratulate Lady Venery.
On what? The fact that her husband's murderer has not been found?
Oh, I suppose you're right.
You ever read the book of Tobit, Watson?
Tobit? I don't think so. When was it published?
Well, it was before our time, old chap. It's an Old Testament story.
Whatever made you think of it at this moment?
Well, it's so remarkably apposite for the case of Lady Venery. It deals with a highly peculiar series of murders, 7 of them, if I remember correctly.
It was a murder.
A jealous demon by the name of Asmodeus, who strangled husbands on their wedding night.
Well, judging by the verdict just now, Mr. Beckworth isn't the Asmodeus, or whatever you call him in this case.
Here, I'm right here. Give me a paper. Thank you, Captain. Thank you.
Well, Holmes, what's it say?
Here it is. Here we are. Listen to this. Lady Venery, widow of the murdered man, says that she will marry the suspect. Lady Venery told newspaper reporters this afternoon that if Major Beckworth is acquitted, she will marry him before the year is out.
Oh, my soul, Holmes, there's a positive sparkle in your eyes. You read about her.
I must admit the lady fascinates me, old chap. I hope before she becomes involved in any further tragedies that we may have the opportunity of meeting her. And something tells me that we will.
Sunday papers are certainly having a field day over the Vettering case, Holmes. Did you read them?
No, I didn't watch.
There's a complete life history of Lady Vettering, and one of them with photographs. It's rather interesting.
Really?
What are you doing over there, Holmes?
Looking out the window. Ah, yes.
You expecting anybody home?
No, come over here, old fellow.
Oh, it's a clergyman.
Yes, a very agitated one. Look at the way he's pacing up and down, and looking up at our window, too.
Joe, what eyes?
Yes, there's a fanatical look about him, which suggests either the martyr at the stake or the inquisitor lighting the faggots.
Mrs. Hudson's letting him in now. Well, I'll be interested to know what he's come to us about. I can hear footsteps on the stairs here. I'll go and have a look. How do you do, sir? Come on in, won't you? It's all right, thank you, Mrs. Hudson.
You're Mr. Sherlock Holmes? I am, sir, and this is my colleague, Dr. Watson. My name is Whalen, the Reverend Arthur Whalen. How do you do?
How do you do, sir?
Sit down, would you, and tell me what I can do for you.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes, this is a very difficult subject to broach. In fact, it's only after intense personal conflict that I've been able to force myself to come to you. May I ask you, are you familiar with the Book of Tobit?
Book of Tobit? Wait a minute. You were talking about that yesterday, huh?
I see that you've come to consult me about the Vettering case.
But that's amazing. How did you know? Has Lady Vettering been in touch with you?
No, sir, but I'm familiar with the Book of Tobit, and Lady Vettering's case closely resembles that of the woman Sarah in the Old Testament story.
More closely than you realize, Mr. Holmes. Did you know that before each one of Lady Vettering's husbands was killed, they received a threatening note?
Yes, I recall that from the trial.
Signed in some sort of gibberish, weren't they?
No, Doctor. Yesterday I was permitted for the first time to examine one of these books. The apparent gibberish was in reality ancient Hebrew writing.
Indeed. Were you able to translate it?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. In effect, it said, if you go through with this marriage, your hours are numbered. And it was signed Asmodeus.
The name of the jealous demon who strangled husbands in the Book of Tobit.
Exactly.
Just why have you come to me, sir?
I want you to talk to Diana, to Lady Vettering, to tell her she must not go through with this new marriage. Never is stalking her, Mr. Holmes. I have argued with her, prayed with her, implored her to realize her danger. But she is adamant.
I'm afraid I feel extremely presumptuous in giving her my advice.
No, Mr. Holmes. I have prepared the way for you. You could, I'm sure, realize her danger.
And she's willing to see me, you say?
Willing and anxious.
Very well. But I'd like to ask you a few questions first.
Anything, Mr. Holmes.
What is your interest in her?
She's a member of my flock. She needs my guidance.
Nothing further?
No, Mr. Holmes.
I believe that you performed the state ceremony at both of her previous weddings.
Yes?
Are you proposing to officiate the ceremony if she marries Major Beckwith?
Well, I don't know. I'm hoping that marriage will never take place. And so I want you to help me, Mr. Holmes.
Where does the lady live?
47, Barclay Square.
Very well. Dr. Watson and I will call on her this afternoon.
Delighted to.
I doubt if I can be there myself. In fact, Diana might speak more freely if I'm not. But here's my card.
Oh, thank
You
you.
know where to get in touch with me if you want to.
Very well, sir.
Good day to you, gentlemen. And I'm greatly in your debt.
Good day. Strange business, Holmes. I can't believe that Mr. Whalen's motives are entirely impersonal.
So can I, old chap.
What are you laughing about?
I was thinking of the Book of Tobit once. In that, the role of protector, the role I have just been asked to take, was played by the Archangel Raphael. I can't help feeling once that I'm making distinct strides in my profession.
Mr. Sherlock Holmes, I'm so glad to meet you.
How do you do, Lady Vettering? May I introduce my old friend, Dr. Watson?
How are you, Dr. Watson?
Glad to meet you, Lady Vettering.
Let's sit down, shall we? You're just in time for tea.
Thank you. You know why we're here, of course.
Naturally. Mr. Whalen came round here as soon as he left you. You want to persuade me to look after my mortal affairs, while he takes care of my immortal ones. Isn't that it?
Well, that's charming. Put, Lady Vettering. Charming.
May I say, Mr. Holmes, that I'm flattered that a man of your eminence should be sufficiently interested to bother about
You
me.
underestimate your own importance, Lady Vettering. Though Though I may mention that if your problem had been as simple as Mr. Whalen made it out to be, I might have been otherwise engaged.
For being very frank and a little mysterious. Are you suggesting that Mr. Whalen didn't tell you everything?
I am. And I hope you will be more candid with me.
Sherlock Holmes, I like you. You're most refreshing. Milk and sugar in your tea?
Just no, thank you.
Here you are. How about you, Dr. Watson?
Oh, just the same way, please. Thank you, Barry.
And now, Mr. Holmes, perhaps you'll tell me why you think that you haven't been told everything.
Before I answer that, Lady Benring, I wonder if I might ask you some questions.
But of course, anything.
When your first husband, Ciperosoni, was killed, did the police find any suspects?
Yes, one. Ferdinand Gautier, a young man who had been an assistant in our magician's act. Stupid, good-looking boy who thought he was in love with me. But of course, Inspector Lestrade had to release him. There was no evidence.
Inspector Lestrade, well, you can bet that if he arrested him, the boy was innocent. A warning note was found among your husband's effects, wasn't it?
Yes, and it was signed in Hebrew with the name Asmodeus. But perhaps you're not familiar with the Book of Tobit.
Oh, yes, I'm familiar with it, Lady Benring. How did you know then that the Hebrew letters signified that name?
Mr. Whalen translated them for me.
Oh, I see.
And also read me the Book of Tobit. He's always been particularly fond of that book. Perhaps because it illustrates his own ideas on the dangers of magic.
Well, told us that he hadn't seen one of the warning notes until yesterday. Precisely. Lady Benring, I read in the papers that you intend to marry Major Beckwith, the man who has just been tried for your late husband's murder.
Yes, Mr. Holmes.
When are you going to marry him, may I ask?
But it pleases me.
Doesn't it occur to you that a great deal of conflict will be caused? Also that Major Beckwith's life is in obvious danger?
Of course it occurs to be, my dear man. That's because of two tragic marriages, and I to spend the rest of my life alone, as Mr. Whalen would have me do. I'm young, alive. Peter, what are you doing here?
I just arrived back in England today, Diana. What's this I read about you marrying Beckwith?
Peter, I've guests. Mr. Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. This is Mr. McComas, one of our most promising young painters.
Diana, tell me, is it true? When I left England, you loved me, and I you. I come back, and what do I find? You're planning to marry Beckwith. Well, I won't stand for it. If you think you can throw me over like some silk boy, you're very much mistaken. I can tell things, you know. I can tell lots of things.
Get out of here, Peter. Get out.
Diana.
And don't come back until you've learned manners and discretion.
But Diana.
Get out.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, Jim. Were there any more questions you wanted to ask me, Mr. Holmes?
One, Lady Benring. Where is your fiancé, Major Beckwith?
He's upstairs. I'm letting him stay here until the scandal of the trial has died down.
I must see him at once.
Once, why, Holmes? He's in no danger until the marriage takes place?
The marriage has taken place, Watson, unless I'm very much mistaken.
What makes you think so, Mr. Holmes?
You're much too discreet and intelligent, Lady Benring, to let him stay here in your house unless you were already married.
We were married this morning. But we planned to keep the fact a secret for a few months until the scandal had died down.
May I talk to him, please?
I'll ring for the butler and ask him to come down.
May I ask, madam, who married you?
The Reverend Arthur Freeland.
And all the time he talked to us today, he knew perfectly well this marriage had taken place. He must have just come from it. I don't trust that man, Holmes.
Oh, there you are, Hudson. I just rang for you. Will you ask Major Beckwith?
Excuse me, lady. I was just on my way to telephone the police.
Oh, the police? What do you mean?
It's Major Beckwith, my lady. He's been stabbed to death in his bath.
Mr. Beckwith murdered, too.
Hudson, I'll telephone the police. I know I'm rather well acquainted with Inspector Lestrade. Excuse me, gentlemen.
Dreadful business, Holmes. A third husband murdered on his wedding day.
But what a woman, Watson. She's superb, magnificent.
What on earth do you mean, Holmes?
What courage. What unconquerable spirit in the face of a fresh tragedy. Watson, she fascinates me. I haven't seen such a splendid female since we solved that case for the King of Bohemia.
Dr. Watson's story will continue in just a few seconds. Time enough to remind you that the easiest way to make good food taste better with a swell Petri wine. And there are two Petri wines in particular just made to go with food. Petri California Sauterne, a delicate white wine with a subtle flavor that's perfect with chicken and fish. And Petri California Burgundy, a hearty, rich red wine that's out of this world with any meat or meat dish. So if you want to know just how good a cook you are, serve your good food with Petri wine made to go with it. A Petri Burgundy or a Petri Sauterne. Two swell Petri mealtime wines. And now back to tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure. The famous detective and his old friend Dr. Watson have become involved in the affairs of thrice-married Diana, one-time magician's assistant. Each of her husbands has been mysteriously murdered on his wedding day, the latest murder occurring at the same day that Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson are brought into the case. As we rejoin our story, it's a month later, and for some obscure reason, Sherlock Holmes seems to have lost interest in the case, though not in the beautiful Diana.
Mr. Holmes, as we started, it's over a month now since Major Beckwith was murdered, and we haven't found a single clue. You expect me to supply the deficiencies of Scotland Yard? Well, it's unlike you not to help us, Mr. Holmes. After all, you and Dr. Watson were in the house when it happened. If you ask me, the murderers either McComas, that Irish painter, or the clergyman Wade. What do you think, sir?
As far as I'm concerned, the case is closed, Mr. Arden. I wish you'd stop bothering me. What do you think I am? Nothing but a detecting machine?
Mr. Holmes, whatever's come over you?
It was Holmes. He loves the girl.
You're not going out again this evening, are you?
I'm afraid so, chap.
This will be the fourth night in a row. I was hoping that we might have a nice, quiet evening in front of the fire.
Oh, I'm sorry, Watson, but I promised to take Diana to the horse show at Olympia. I should be home by midnight.
Holmes, yes, Mr. Whalen. You're seeing altogether too much of Diana. She seems to be completely under your spell.
You introduced me to her in the first place, with the request that I keep an eye on her.
I made a great mistake. As her spiritual protector, I'm afraid I must ask you to stop seeking her.
I'm afraid I must ask you, sir, to mind your own business.
I say, Holmes, have you seen in the paper that violinist is Iway is playing at the Albert Hall tonight?
No, I haven't looked at the paper today.
Oh, I thought perhaps we might go along and see.
I'm afraid I can't hold you up. No, I'm taking Diana to the French Maid at Delius Theatre. I hear it's a charming musical comedy.
Look here, Holmes. We've been friends for a good many years now.
Very true, old fellow.
And I think I'm entitled to speak to you straight from the shoulder.
Of course you are, Watson.
Very well, then. This Diana Beckworth.
Oh.
It's your own business, I suppose. I can't bear to see her making such a fool of you. You've neglected your work at Tower since you met her. You get about as though you're a young fellow of 20. What's come over you, Holmes?
Stop pacing about, old chap, will you, and sit down. In fact, it might be a good idea if you fortified yourself with a drop of brandy from the Tantalus there. What I'm about to tell you may be something of a shock. Watson, Diana and I are getting married tomorrow.
Congratulations.
What did you say, Holmes?
I'm getting married tomorrow.
What's to insane?
Oh, that's not very rapid. Well, I don't see why you would be so surprised. You yourself married and left Baker Street once, didn't you?
You, Holmes, a confirmed woman.
No, my dear Watson, no, indeed, no. You will remember in our adventure that you titled A Scandal in Bohemia, I met a lady that I have often referred to as the woman.
You mean Irene Adler, but she was a criminal.
Exactly, and yet Diana has the same magnificent characteristics. Keen intelligence, courage, and unconquerable spirit.
But Holmes, 3 of her husbands murdered on their wedding night. You're proposing to be the 4th.
Oh, rubbish, my dear fellow, because tragedy has attended her previous marriages. Is she to go through life alone?
Holmes, you really mean it, don't you?
Of course I do.
I think I will have a lip of brandy.
Oh, don't take so bad, old fellow. We'll continue to see a lot of each other. Diana's very fond of you, you know.
Oh, yeah. Who's going to perform the ceremony? Not the Reverend Mr. Whalen?
No. We decided, in view of Diana's previous marriages, that he might prove to be a trifle, unlucky. A clergyman named Vernet will officiate. Whalen, of course, insists on being present just the same.
What time is the wedding tomorrow?
2 o'clock, old fellow. Oh, I should have mentioned this before. I hope your cutaway coat and top hat are in a good state of preservation. You'll be a pretty prominent figure at the ceremony, you know.
You mean that...
Well, I mean that if Sherlock Holmes gets married, Who else could be his best man but his old friend, Dr. Watson? It's elementary, my dear fellow, elementary. I now pronounce you man and wife. And those whom God hath joined together, let no man put asunder.
Oh, congratulations, Sherlock. What?
Diana, I'm going to claim the privilege of the best man and give you a kiss.
Of course you shall, Doctor.
Thank you, Holmes. You're Miss Lucky Fuller.
Of course I am, old chap.
Sherlock, I'm going upstairs to change my dress now.
Very well, Diana. I'll be up shortly.
I'll see you later, Dr. Watson.
Very well, Mrs. Holmes. Holmes, I never thought I'd live to say that.
Watson, old fellow, I'm worried.
Worried today? Oh, my dear fellow, what's the matter?
Well, just before the ceremony, I received one of those warning notes signed by Asmodeus.
Oh, you better be careful, Holmes.
I think I'll slip out and have a pipe or two on the matter. Yes. Look after my guests for me, will you? And keep your eyes open. And your ears.
Yes, I will indeed. There you are, Mr. Whalen. Would you care for a glass of champagne or punch or something or other?
Thank you, no, Doctor. I'm in no mood for celebration. I'm certain that Diana has made a shocking mistake.
Well, really, sir, I don't think...
I only came here in a last-minute attempt to dissuade her. Now that I've failed, I shall leave. Good day, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Watson?
Oh, hello, McComas.
Where's Mr. Hope?
We'll be back in a few minutes. Would you care for a glass of champagne, sir?
Thank you. I should like to drink a toast to the pair. I've been in love with Diana for years, you know, but she wouldn't marry me, and well, I suppose I might as well make the best of it. I must say your friend Sherlock Holmes seems like a splendid fellow.
He is indeed, McComas. In fact, I may say... Excuse me, sir. All right, Holmes, I'm coming. What else the matter, Holmes?
Follow me, lock the door behind you. Allow me to introduce you to the demon Asmodeus, Watson. Unfortunately, at the moment, she's in a faint. Good Lord. It's Diana. Exactly. Always an impetuous woman, she made the mistake of trying to stab me with that knife. So I bent over to strap up a suitcase. She didn't allow for the wall mirror in which I was watching her.
You mean you suspected her all along?
I did, old fellow. The problem was to find the proof. I first suspected her when I knew that she had been a magician's assistant. The key to the profession of magic is misdirection, and these murders have been a perfect example of misdirection motive.
How do you mean, how?
Well, by creating Asmodeus, thanks to the well-meaning stories of the Reverend Mr. Whalen, whose theological libraries she must have copied the Hebrew signature. She focused the murders on jealousy, concealing the fact that the one person with a perfect motive was herself, the widow who was to inherit.
Oh, why hasn't she been caught before?
She was devilishly clever. She left no clues except an indirect one that I had once spotted, that the likeliest person to be able to approach a bridegroom unsuspected and stab him is his bride. Now, I wish you to see if you can revive her, old fellow. When the police get here, I should like Mrs. Holmes to be in full possession of all her faculties.
Oh, Mrs. Holmes. Oh, my goodness. This is just the best episode ever.
Well, Holmes, I must say I never expected to be driving back with you to Baker Street on your wedding day. I can't tell you how I feel.
Dear old Watson, you really thought that I deserted you, didn't you?
Well, naturally, I wish you told me the truth.
Why didn't tell anyone? Not even you. If the faintest shadow of suspicion had entered her mind, I'd never have called her.
Well, it seems to me you paid a pretty high price, Holmes. You told me you made a will in her favor. Supposing something happens to you before her trial, she'd get the money, you know?
Oh, the will? Oh, no, that was worthless. I told Diana that it was a holographic will and perfectly valid.
Well, what on earth is a holographic?
A will drawn up in one's own handwriting on a piece of perfectly plain paper. Such a document is quite legal, but I drew mine up on a paper with a left head. That made it invalid.
Well, I see, but the fact remains that you are married, Holmes.
I really fooled you completely, didn't I, Watson? Didn't the name of the clergyman who married us suggest anything to you?
The Reverend Vernet? No, and why else should it?
Well, Vernet was a French painter of some note. He also happens to have been a great uncle of mine, and Mycroft's.
You mean that your brother Mycroft was a clergyman?
I mean that Mycroft was disguised as a clergyman. And a very convincing job he did, too. A more satisfactory clergyman than the Reverend Mr. Whalen, no doubt, whose possible complicity may compel him to answer some very awkward questions.
And you're not married. Put my soul, Holmes. I don't know what to say.
Then I suggest that you say nothing, my dear chap. Let's just sit back quietly, as two good friends can, and brood about the mutability of human affairs.
Well, Dr. Watson, since we're all in a holiday mood, I'd guess that you've deliberately selected the adventure of the Blue Carbuncle for this Christmas season.
Indeed, I have, Mr. Harris. The adventure was both a Christmas tale and a most intriguing crime. It was Christmas morning. It was a glorious London Christmas. We'd had a thick blanket of snow on the streets, and it glistened in the flickering gaslight. Now and then a sleigh would dash by, the horses prancing along as though they shared the festive mood, shaking their heads, it seemed, deliberately to jingle the bells on the harness. Stout gentlemen, their cheeks as red as could be, a broad grin on their faces, held the reins tightly in their mittens, carefully piloting their cargoes of gaily wrapped packages. At the corner of Goose Street on Tottenham Court Road, a tall man with a pointed beard,
Smoke break.
impoverished looking,
Ice cream
was
break.
trudging along. He carried a white goose slung over his shoulder. As he reached the corner, a group of young rowdies began to tease him.
Yo, where you going, Governor? I bet if you paint for Christmas, they got
Hey, where you going, Governor?
I really can't spare them.
How about that goose you're carrying, eh? Blimey, His Majesty must have plenty of spare change to afford a goose like that.
No, please. This goose is all I can bring home to my family for Christmas.
I bet I can knock his head off with a snowball.
No,
Even though he is so tall, even though his eye is a judge steeple. Come on, Governor, I'll bought a few
No,
pennies.
let go of my coat.
Hey, what is that? Now, here goes my snowball. Yeah.
Oh, my hat.
Oh, good boy, you've knocked it off.
You ragamuffin. If you won't behave, I'll take this walking stick of mine
Get
and
it away, boys. He's swinging,
There you-
swinging now. Oh, he missed. Oh, no, get you out of the window. Hey, ho.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Not at all. My name is Peterson.
Good heavens. The police, and I've broken that window. Thank you for assisting me, sir. A Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Oh, wait, you left your hat there on the snow and you dropped your juice. Come back here. Come back. And so, my dear Watson, Peterson was left the victor in the Battle of Tottenham Court Road, with the stranger's battered hat and his Christmas goose.
What did he do with the spoils, Holmes?
He brought them here to Baker Street, knowing that even the smallest problem was of interest to me.
Why didn't he return the hat and the bird to the chap who owned them?
My dear fellow, there lies the problem. Peterson does not know the identity of the tall, thin gentleman who vanished into the dark.
Wasn't a single clue to the gentleman's identity.
By now, Watson, you must have realized there is never a lack of clues. There's only a lack of the intelligence necessary to find them.
Well, the rightful owner of the bird must be found immediately, Holmes. The poor devil's lost his Christmas dinner.
Christmas poppycock.
What clues did you find?
A small card was tied to the bird's left leg. The card read, "For Mrs. Henry Baker." Upon the lining of the hat, which I have here in my hand, you'll notice the initials HB. But as there are some thousands of Bakers, it's not easy to restore lost property to any one of them.
And where is the Christmas goose?
By now, I should say it's fulfilling the ultimate destiny of every plump goose. We were afraid lest it spoil, therefore it's roasting at this moment in front of Peterson's fire.
Is there any hope at all of finding this Henry Baker, returning his hat?
There's a great deal of hope of finding him.
Oh, I'm sorry to burst in about with you like this, Mr. Elms, but the goose, the Christmas goose, sir.
I trust the news of the goose justifies the melodrama of your entrance, Peterson.
Oh, Mr. Elms, I thought
The goose has it returned to life and flapped off through your kitchen window.
Look, Mr. Elms, my wife found this in its crop.
Is that a diamond?
Oh, yes, Dr. Watson, it must be. It cuts into glass, so it will touch.
When you opened the goose, you found this precious stone inside of it.
This is more than a precious stone, Watson. This is the precious stone. This is the Countess of Morcar's Blue Carbuncle.
Is it really her?
Precisely. I ought to know its size and shape, seeing that I've read the advertisement about it in the Times every day. This Blue Carbuncle is unique. The reward of £1,000 for its return is certainly not a 20th part of its market price.
Reward of £1,000?
Yes.
You mind if I sit down?
Well, didn't I read in the newspaper that it was lost at the Hotel Cosmopolitan Home?
You did, Watson. On December the 22nd, John Horner, a plumber, was accused of having stolen it from the Countess's apartment. The evidence against him was very strong. James Ryder, the head attendant of the hotel, accused Horner. He said he'd shown Horner to the Countess's dressing room so that Horner might prepare a drink for the flute.
Yes, I remember that now.
Ryder left Horner alone in the room. When Ryder came back, Horner was gone. The bureau had been forced open and the box where the jewel was kept lay empty.
Yes, I see.
There was a maid involved, too, a Catherine Cusack. She rushed into the room when she heard Ryder shouting about the robbery and found the situation exactly as he described it in court.
Yes, Holmes, but if this Horner stole the jewel, how did it get into the bag? And what has Henry Baker to do with all this?
Mr. Baker, Watson, should provide a satisfactory explanation to that mystery. We shall determine his innocence or guilt by a simple test. The moment we produce it.
How shall we do that,
Well, I had nothing to do with the robbery, you understand? A moment, Peterson. We shall place an advertisement in the evening papers, Watson. That would be the simplest method. Would you give me a pencil and that slip of paper?
Yes, of course, Holmes. There you are.
Found at the corner of Good Street a goose and a black felt hat. Mr. Henry Baker can have the same by applying at 6:30 this evening at 221B Baker Street.
Will he see it in the papers?
Oh, undoubtedly, Watson. He's a poor man. The loss is a heavy one. Peterson, would you have this put in the evening papers?
Very well, Mr. Holmes. And the stone?
I shall return the stone to the Countess immediately. And, Peterson, would you buy a goose on your way back and leave it with me? We must have one to give to this gentleman in place of the one which your family is now devouring.
Well, certainly, Mr. Holmes. Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. £1,000 reward. Oh, great Lord of mercy, what a wonderful Christmas this is. I'll be £1,000 richer. God rest ye merry gentlemen. Let nothing you dismay.
Now, just look at this precious stone, Watson.
Yes, Holmes. Incredibly beautiful. So pure. So brilliant.
Quite. But behind the beauty, there's evil, Watson. This carbuncle was found in the banks of the Amoy River in southern China.
Why do they call this stone a carbuncle, Holmes? Isn't a carbuncle ruby red?
Indeed it is, but this is a blue carbuncle, and the rarity of it has given it a sinister history. There have been several robberies, an acid throwing, a suicide, and 2 murders, just for the sake of this 40-grain weight of crystallized charcoal. You see, Watson, in a great jewel such as this, every facet may stand for a bloody deed.
If you were shopping for the finest silver, you would naturally look for the sterling mark. Similarly, you want assurance of quality and value when you shop for clothes. When you buy Clippercraft, you get double assurance. The name of the store plus the Clippercraft label. Now, that's your proof that you're getting one of America's greatest values. You see, the Clippercraft label is the symbol of a remarkable plan that concentrates the immense purchasing power of more than 1,200 fine independent stores from coast to coast. The savings on production and distribution goes straight into your pocket. Now, that's why your truly expensive-looking Clippercraft topcoat or overcoat is only $40 to $47.50. And that's why millions of men cheer the incredibly modest prices of Clippercraft's new zipper-lining topcoats. That's why men who know insist on Clippercraft clothes bearing the Clippercraft label. So be sure to visit the Clippercraft store in your city. And remember, that's one of the more than 1,200 leading retail stores across the nation, where courtesy and friendly service are always yours. The store that is proud to add its fine name to that of Clippercraft clothes in the label of your suit, top coat, and overcoat. And remember also, not every pattern is always available in your size, but keep trying. It will pay you to wait for Clippercraft clothes bearing the Clippercraft label. Well, Dr. Watson, shall we return to the story of the criminal who stole the blue carbuncle?
Most certainly, Mr. Harris. I returned to Holmes's room later that evening to find Holmes with Mr. Henry Baker, the gentleman who lost his hat and his business goose, who had appeared in response to the advertisement.
told to eat it. You've eaten my bird? Yes, it would have been of no use to anyone had we not done so. I presume this other goose upon the sideboard will answer.
Woo! What's going on with the internet?
Your purpose equally well. Yes, I believe it will. We still have the feathers, the legs, the crop, and so on of your original bird. If you wish to have them, would they be of use to you, Mr. Baker? No, none whatsoever.
You seem hesitant, sir. Doubtful.
I just moved. By your kindness, gentlemen, you might well have kept the bird and done nothing, but in the tradition of the Christmas spirit, you have provided me with a joyful surprise. Mr. Baker, would you tell me where you got the original bird? I'm somewhat of a fowl fancier, and I seldom seen a better grown goose. Certainly, Mr. Holmes. There are a few of us who frequent the Alpha Inn.
Near the museum?
Yes. This year, our host, Windigate by name, instituted a goose club, by which, on consideration of a few pennies every week, we were each to receive a bird at Christmas. My pennies were paid. Well, the rest is familiar to you. Now, if you'll pardon me, my hat.
Oh, yes. Here it is.
Thank you. I must dash home to share this wonderful bird with my family. You have the humble gratitude, gentlemen, of a poor soul whose Christmas you have brightened.
A small enough gift, sir, for the greatness of the day. Merry Christmas, Mr. Baker.
And a glorious holiday to you, Dr. Watson. Mr. Holmes. Good evening, Mr. Baker.
He's quite innocent, eh, Holmes?
Quite.
Really, Holmes, you have not extended greetings to one person, you know. That the Christmas spirit cannot reach the lofty, ice-bound heights where you keep yourself.
At the moment, Watson, Elizabeth Horner stands at the assizes charged with the robbery of the Countess of Morcar's blue carbuncle. Mr. Horner may serve a long sentence in prison undeservedly, and the actual culprit will still be at large. Who placed the priceless stone in the crop of the bird? We must answer that damning question, Watson. We've no time for sentimental rubbish. Quickly, to the Alpha Inn.
Oh, there's the landlord of this inn at the bar, Holmes. Red-faced chap in the white apron. Name's Windigate.
Mr. Windigate.
Well, what did it be?
2 glasses of beer, please.
2 glasses of beer, it is.
Your beer should be excellent. If it's as good as your geese.
My geese?
Yes, I was speaking only half an hour ago to Mr. Henry Baker, who's a member of your goose club.
Oh, but them's not our geese. Indeed? Then whose are they? Oh, I got 2 dozen of them from a salesman in Covent Garden.
I know some of those salesmen. Which one was it?
Well, let me see now. His name was, oh, yes, Breckenridge.
Breckenridge. Thank you, sir. Come, Watson.
Yes, right you are. Wait, you haven't drunk up.
Your payment, Mr. Windigate. We've more urgent matters at hand.
Not even time for a toast to the jolliest holiday of them all?
No nonsense.
Well, good night, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Ill-advised humor is the eternal earmark of third-rate minds. Good night, sir.
By Jove, Holmes, even old Windigate's caught the spirit of the day. I must say, Holmes, for you to regard this beautiful legend of St. Nicholas, and the one day we may all walk this earth with a carefree and childish heart, to regard it as sentimental rubbish, it's inexcusable, Holmes.
To my mind, Watson, there's but one inexcusable act, the failure of a human mind to solve a problem, especially a problem in crime. You must fetch a cab and race to Covent Garden Market. This salesman, this Breckenridge, he holds the solution to the riddle of the stolen jewel.
Unhurry, Bill, my lad. Help me put up these shutters.
Right now, Mr. Breckenridge.
You hear those church bells, Bill, my lad?
I do, Mr. Breckenridge.
It's the sweetest music a man could ever hear. Church bells at Christmas time. You know what the bells are saying?
What, Mr. Breckenridge?
They're saying, you know business in the store, working this night. You young Bill belongs with the other youngsters round the tree. And me, Mr. Breckenridge, I should be standing at the punch bowl with my good wife and my dear friend. So, up for the shutters, Bill, my lad.
Good evening. Mr. Mr. Breckenridge?
I am that, and a very happy evening it is too, sir. An holiday evening.
Yes, so it is. By George.
Quiet, Watson. Sold out of geese, I see.
I could let you have 500 tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning will not do. Surely you may find just one more. I would recommend it to you.
By who?
We were recommended by the landlord of the Alpha Inn.
Oh, yes, I sent him a couple of dozen.
Fine birds they were, too. Where did you get them?
Then, mister, what are you driving at? Let's have it straight now.
Straight enough.
We should like to know who sold you the geese which you supplied to the Alpha Inn.
I shan't tell you.
It's a matter of no importance, but I don't understand why you should be so disturbed over such a trifle.
Trifle, is it? You'd be angry if you were as festive as I am. When I pay good money for a good article, that should be the end of the business. But it's where are the geese? And who did you sell the geese to? And what do you take for the geese? Never in all my years at this stall have I heard such a fact.
Well, I have no connection with any other people who've been making inquiries. But I'm always ready to back my opinion on a matter of fowls.
Meaning just what?
Meaning that I have a fiver on it that the bird I ate is country bred.
Why do you say that, Holmes?
You've lost your fiver. It's town bred.
Nothing of the kind.
I say it is.
And I don't believe it.
You think you know more about fowls than I? You've handled them ever since I was any first. I'll have a sovereign on it with you.
Oh, they
Nothing
get
else.
me.
Bring me the book, young Bill.
Oh, I bet them. They're up on this shelf. Here's the big ledger.
Fine, man, fine. Now then, Mr. Compsure, if you step over here to the lamp,
Very well.
and look at his thumb, then I'll find the page. Leave them spectacles. There we are. Look at that third thing. Just read it out to me.
Mrs. Oakshott, 117 Brixton Road, egged and poultry supplier.
Read the last entry.
December 22nd, 24 geese at 7 shillings and sixpence.
Quite so. And what's it say underneath?
Sold to Mr. Windigate of the Alpha at 12 shillings.
What are you going to say now?
You owe him a sovereign, Holmes.
And it says,
You won, Mr. Breckenridge. You won.
So I didn't know that. And you may have the sovereign even at Christmas time.
Oh, thank you, sir.
come Watson, the air about this fall becomes sickeningly sweet.
I'm with you, Holmes. Well, evening, Mr. Breckenridge. And a Merry Christmas.
A Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Walk down the street a bit and they Watson, you can serve privately of our next step.
I should say it's Brixton Road, Holmes. This Mrs. Oakshott who raises the geese must know how the blue carbuncle came to be in the bird's crop.
Undoubtedly. Now that I've duped Breckenridge by means of that wager and telling you the woman's name.
It's the salesman, Breckenridge. Who's the little fellow he's arguing with? He wasn't at the stall before.
Well, you come testing me with all your silly talk, I'll send you down at you. Mr. Breckenridge, you bring Mrs. Oakshott here, and I'll answer her. What have you got to do with it? Did I buy the geese off you? No, but one of them is mine all the same. Well, then ask Mrs. Oakshott for it.
This may save us a visit to Brixton Road, Watson. Come, we'll see what's to be made of this fellow.
I've had enough of this. Get out.
He's chased the stranger away from the stall. Here he comes.
You must stop him, Watson. One moment. Stop where you are.
Who are you? What do you want?
You'll excuse me, sir. I could not help overhearing your conversation with Miss Breckenridge. I believe I may be of assistance.
But who are you? How could you know anything about it?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. It's my business to know what other people don't know.
And I'm Dr. John Watson.
You, sir, are endeavoring to trace some geese which were sold by Mrs. Oakshott to Mr. Breckenridge at the stall down the street. The geese were sold in turn to Mr. Windigate at the Alpha Inn and then to Mr. Henry Baker.
Then you do know about it. You can help me?
Of course I can. Your name, sir?
My name is...
He's got the
John
zoomies.
No, the real name. It's always awkward doing business with an
The
alias.
zoomies.
My real name is James Ryder.
Precisely so. You are head attendant at the Hotel Cosmopolitan, where the Countess's precious jewelry disappeared.
Please, Mr. Holmes.
I suggest we discuss this case at my residence on Baker Street.
We're getting there. Looks pretty good.
This is more like it. Oh, that fire's very cozy.
Mr. Ryder, I've invited you here to Baker Street because you want to know what became of those geese.
I want to know desperately, Mr. Holmes.
You are concerned, Mr. Ryder, with one bird, white, with a black bar across the tail.
You know about it? Can you tell me where it is?
It came here.
Here?
Yes. And it laid an egg after it was dead. The prettiest, brightest blue egg. I have it here in my trunk box. There it is. The Countess of Morcar's blue carbuncle.
Oh, I'd like to explain.
Grab him, Watson. He seems faint.
I'll help him into this chair. There we are.
Not a very sturdy or convincing criminal, are you, Mr. Ryder? You've heard, of course, of this blue stone?
It was Catherine Cusack who told me about it.
Yes, I see. Her ladyship's maid. You knew this man Horner had a criminal record, that it would be easy to point suspicion toward him. You and the lady's maid managed to have Horner, the plumber, sent for. After he left, you rifled the jewel case, raised the alarm, and had him arrested.
Mr. Holmes, I never went wrong before. I never will again. Don't bring this into court.
It's all very well to be contrite now, Mr. Ryder, but you thought little enough of poor Horner in the dock for a crime of which he knew nothing.
I'll leave the country, Mr. Holmes. The charge against him will break down.
You still haven't had an account of how the precious stone got into the goose's crop, Holmes.
Yes, Watson. Well, Mr. Ryder, you beg forgiveness, but you do not explain very much.
Yes, I'll tell you. After I'd taken the stone, I knew there was no place about the hotel where it would be safe, so I have a friend, Maudsley by name. He served time in Pentonville. He knows the ways of thieves, and I counted upon Maudsley to help me turn the stone into money. I ran to my sister's house, Mrs. Oakshott on Brixton Road.
Yes, I presume that while you're there, it occurred to you to hide the priceless gem in the crop of one of her geese, which were probably waddling in her backyard when you arrived.
Just so, Mr. Holmes. She promised to give me one of the birds for the holidays, and I selected one, white, with a barred tail. I forced the jewel down its throat. Then my sister came out of the house. She told me to select a goose. Well, there was great numbers of them in the yard, and I pointed to what I thought was the proper bird, white with a barred tail. I carried the goose to Maudsley.
And when you opened its crop, you suddenly realized there was more than one goose that was white with a barred tail.
I was frantic, Mr. Holmes. I discovered the goose had been sold to Breckenridge at Covent Garden. I ran to its stall. That's where you found me. Now I'm a branded thief.
Miserable creature, Holmes.
Oh, I yielded to a moment's temptation. Don't turn me into Scotland Yard. I'll do whatever you ask. I'll make amends somehow.
You know, Holmes, if Ryder here doesn't appear in court, the case against Horner will collapse. That's fair enough, isn't it, Holmes? Send Ryder to jail now, and you may make him a jailbird for life. You may be commuting a felony, but you save this man's soul. Must you turn him over to the yard? Well, Holmes?
What do you say, Mr. Holmes? What do you say?
Get out, Mr. Ryder.
What?
No more words. Get out.
Oh, God bless you, sir. God bless you.
You've astonished me, Holmes.
Well, Watson, this is the season of forgiveness, isn't it?
Yes, of course it is, but, you know, I thought you'd quite forgotten that, Holmes. I thought you'd no use at all for Christmas. I thought landlord Windigate was quite right in calling you Ebenezer Scrooge.
Even old Scrooge had a change of heart, didn't he?
Yes, so he did, Holmes, so he did. Well, shall we drink to it? Shall we drink to John Ryder, landlord Windigate, Breckenridge, the shopkeeper, and Little Bill? To them, and with all my heart, to you, Holmes. Merry Christmas.
To you. Merry Christmas.
I join you in the toast, my dear Watson. A very Merry Christmas indeed.
A very Merry Christmas indeed. Very Merry Christmas indeed.
Well, Dr. Watson, the adventure of the Blue Carbuncle was a very charming and appropriate story. I imagine that next week, though, we
Boy, we
return
had a couple of
to
really good stories today.
The great struggle between Holmes and the most brilliant
Those
criminals
two
of
in
the time.
like
We
were
do.
really good.
Yes. Next week's adventure is entitled The Adventure of the Malicious Moor, which strangely resembles the story of Shakespeare's Othello.
Well, that's a very attractive prospect, Dr. Watson. And, Doctor, as most of the friends of Sherlock Holmes know, an internationally famous society has been founded called the Baker Street Irregulars, a society of devotees to Holmes and to his adventures. And here in New York, there is a chapter known as the Diogenes Club, after the great Greek philosopher who searched the earth for an honest man carrying a legendary lantern. Now, each year, the Diogenes Club, whose members include many of the most distinguished personalities on the current American scene, makes special awards for outstanding achievements. On Wednesday, December 8th of this year, the very first recipient of this award, a Diogenes lantern, was President Harry S. Truman. The lantern was presented to our president by Mr. Elmer Davis and by Mr. Christopher Morley. In presenting it, Elmer Davis said that President Truman received it for shedding light on the political situation
for the experts were in the dark. Now, in the absence of Dr. Charles Goodman, president of the Diogenes Club, I have been delegated to announce the latest award of the Diogenes Lantern. Following the award to President Truman, the makers of Clippercraft clothes and all of us associated with the production of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes for radio are proud to announce the award of a Diogenes Lantern for his brilliant portrayal of Holmes on the air to the eminent actor who plays the role on this program, the first citizen to receive the award after President Truman, Mr. John Stanley. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. Harris, for representing Dr. Goodman and his associates. It goes without saying that I am deeply honored to receive this second Diogenes Lantern, and humble that I should be so singled out. I may say that I'm doubly humble in my approach to the portrayal of the great detective Sherlock Holmes. Again, thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Ah, there you are, Mr. Bartell.
Good evening, Doctor. Say, where are the puppies this evening?
Mr. Bartell, don't you think it's about time you began to refer to them as the dogs? They're almost a year old, you know.
I stand corrected. Where are the dogs this evening?
Well, they had another furious battle with a dead seal on the beach today. My housekeeper, Mrs. West, is giving them a much-needed bath.
They certainly have an aversion to seals, don't they? Well, Doctor, are you all ready with tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure?
Yes, my boy, and as yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, I decided to tell you a story that took place in Ireland a few years before the turn of the century. I imagine that you've heard of kissing the Blarney Stone, haven't you?
Oh, yes, Doctor, though I've never understood exactly what it meant.
Well, let me explain it to you, because the ceremony plays a very important part in the story tonight. Blarney Castle is an imposing 15th century ruin a few miles outside the town of Cork. The castle is many stories high, and in the foremost tower, a famous Blarney Stone is situated.
What's supposed to be the point in kissing it, Doctor?
The stone is considered a powerful talisman, and the legend runs that whoever kisses it is endowed with eloquence for life.
Say, Doctor, if I ever get over to Ireland, I'll certainly kiss that stone. But you're such a storyteller yourself, Doctor. I bet you've kissed it, huh?
No, Mr. Bartell, I'm afraid I never had quite enough courage.
Courage? Well, why does it need courage,
Well,
Doctor?
because the Blarney Stone is set in a most inaccessible position on the outside wall. To kiss it, it is customary to lower the candidate for eloquence over the rampart, head foremost, with a friend hanging onto his heels.
The top of a castle? Does sound dangerous, Doctor.
Oh, it was, my boy, so much so that in recent years a great row of iron spikes was put round the parapet to prevent an accident. Though, of course, at the time tonight's story took place, there was no such guard.
And I have a feeling that an accident did take place, Doctor.
Now, Mr. Bartell, let me tell you the story from the beginning. Sherlock Holmes and I were staying in the city of Cork, where the great man had just solved the singular affair which the local press had referred to as the Leprechaun Murders. A few days before our departure for England, we paid a visit to Blarney Castle. I must confess that I had a certain desire to test the miraculous powers attributed to the Blarney Stone. I very soon changed my mind, however, as Holmes and I stood there, high on the turrets of Blarney Castle, and watched the terrified initiate being hauled up by his ankles and yelling at the top of his voice. Pull me up! Pull me up quickly! I think I'm going to faint! Great Scott, I had no idea that kissing the Blarney Stone was such a hazardous proceeding, Holmes.
Yes. It would seem that eloquence could be more easily obtained than by hanging suspended by one's ankles from a battlement with 100-foot drop below and kissing a piece of stone.
Oh, I'll never do that again, Paul. I must say, I don't blame the fellow.
And yet, my dear chap, on our way over here, you expressed a sneaking desire to kiss the stone yourself. I'll be very happy to hold your ankles if you want to try the experiment.
No, thank you. After witnessing the ceremony, I've changed my mind.
Then I suggest we make our way back downstairs. I don't think there's much more to be seen up here.
Well, by the way, Holmes, do you know the origin of the superstition regarding the Blarney Stone?
Yes, I do, old chap. The stone was, story of the stone dates back to the middle of the 15th century. A certain Cormac McCarthy, called the Strong, a descendant of the ancient kings of Munster and builder of this castle, chanced one day to save an old woman from drowning. In her gratitude, she offered Cormac a golden tongue, which would have the power to influence men and women, friends and foes, as he willed. She told him to mount the battlement and kiss a certain stone in the wall 5 feet below the gallery running round the top.
He followed her directions and obtained all the fluent persuasiveness she had promised.
And as the story spread in the Blarney Stone, there's been a magnet to pilgrims ever since.
Yeah, that's pleasant legend.
Holmes,
Yes, old chap?
tomorrow's Patrick's Day. I bet there'll be quite a bit of excitement in the village tonight. Don't you think it'd be rather fun to pay a visit to one of the local inns?
Splendid idea, old chap. Our rather arduous work here in Ireland is concluded, and I think we're more than entitled to a little gaiety.
Charming, quite charming. A waiter and singing at his work.
Singing very well, too. Just the same, I wish someone would come and take our order.
Oh, there's a barmaid. I'll see if I can catch her eye. Hi, miss.
Would you gentlemen be after wanting something?
Yes, my dear. My friend and I would like a little refreshment. And what would you suggest?
What would I suggest, Your Honor? Oh, begorra. There's but one drink a gentleman like yourself should be after pulling down you. And that's the cream of Connemara. Whiskey that'll soften your heart and make you glow with a good feeling so that the little people will be after visiting you.
It sounds delightful. Bring 2 glasses, will you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. I must say, I never heard an English barmaid go into such rhapsodies over a nip of whiskey.
You know, the Irish are distinctly more colourful in their speech. It's an interesting fact, though, Watson, that the Irish are curiously unrewarding in the criminal world. England, Scotland, America, Australia have all produced classics of crime. But the Irish murders, almost without exception, have been purely physical, affairs of hot blood.
You say that rather regretfully, Holmes.
No, my dear chap, no. Mr. Watson, look at this rather florid-looking gentleman coming towards our table.
Looks to me as if he's a little under the weather.
You fellas have got to have a drink with me.
Oh, thank you, sir, thank you, but we've just ordered one.
You've got to have it with me. I went to the races at Cork today and made a killing. I'm going to buy all the drinks here tonight.
I'm afraid that...
Nothing to be afraid of. I'll sit down with you for a moment. Yeah, my name's Hankin, Geoffrey Hankin. What's yours?
Mine is Holmes, and this is my friend, Dr. Watson.
How do you do, sir? How do you do?
Your Honors, that'll be 1 and 6.
Here, I'm paying for these here. Half a crown and you can keep the change.
Oh, blessings on you, Your
So,
Honor.
if you insist on paying for our drinks, Mr. Hankin, here's your very good health.
Yes, indeed.
You're both English, aren't you?
Yes, sir?
So am I, and it's certainly a relief to hear an English voice again.
Oh, you don't like the Irish lilt, sir?
Can't bear it.
Personally, I find it rather charming.
Yes, indeed, so do I.
Well, you wouldn't if you had to live with it all the time. Sometimes I think that if I hear one more Irish tenor singing Molly Malone, or one more reference to little people, I shall go raving mad.
You live in Ireland, sir?
I have to. I own a half interest in the Tweed mill here, you see. In any case, my wife's Irish, and she thinks there's no other country in the world, so I suppose I'm stuck here. See that couple sitting at the table over there?
You mean the fellow with the very beautiful girl?
Yes. Man's Michael Corker, my partner.
Oh, the girl's absolutely ravishing.
You'd like to meet her?
I'd like to, by George, yes. What do you say, Holmes?
Oh, very well. Watson, the combination of my natural curiosity and your taste for a pretty face would seem to suit the occasion admirably.
I might as well warn you, Doctor, that the pretty face belongs to my wife.
Your wife? Oh, goodness me. I didn't mean to.
Oh, well, you better bring the glasses with you. Molly, my dear, I want you to meet 2 English friends of mine, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson.
How do you do?
How do you do, Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson? Won't you sit down and join us?
And this is my partner, Michael Corker.
How do you do, Mr. Corcoran?
How do you do, sir?
I'm glad to meet you. Please be seated, gentlemen.
Are you visiting here in Cork, Mr.
Yes,
Holmes?
Mrs. Hankin, but we're returning to England in a few days.
You've been to Blarney Castle, I hope.
Oh, yes, we were there this afternoon.
And did either of you have the courage to kiss the Blarney Stone?
No, we didn't. I'm afraid it's an athletic feat that's beyond me.
It's a lot of rubbish, that's what it is. Kissing a slab of stone.
Have you the courage to do it, Geoffrey?
Well, of course I have. I don't want to make a fool of myself. Where's the barmaid? Kathleen.
I'll make a wager, Geoffrey, that you haven't the courage to kiss the stone.
How much will you bet, Michael?
I'll wager a £10 note on it.
It's a bet, and you fellas witnessed it. I'll kiss the Blarney Stone at noon tomorrow, and you'll be £10 the poorer, Michael. And I suggest that Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson be present as well. They can act as referees.
Geoffrey, dear, don't get so excited.
Well, I don't like it when Michael suggests I don't have courage.
You want some more drink, Mr.
Yes,
Hennigan?
all of us want to.
No more for me, thank you,
No
Mr.
more for
And
me,
I
thank you.
think you've had enough, Geoffrey.
Don't tell me when I've had enough, Molly.
In Dublin's fair city, the girl...
Oh, no, not that filthy song.
Oh, no. Not the filthy song.
Stop!
Jeffrey, quiet.
Would Your Honor be wanting me to sing another song?
My honor would like you to shut up that filthy cat of yours. Really, sir, really. I call it.
Jeffrey. Sean, please go on with your singing.
In Dublin's fair city.
You heard me, you great bog-trotting gazoo. I said shut up, and I meant shut up.
Jeffrey, I'm leaving here at once. Michael, please to take me home.
It'll be my pleasure, Molly.
You're an ugly man, Mr. Henkin. Knocking down poor Sean when he was singing just like a bird.
The devil with him, and all of you.
No Irishman will be after forgiving you for this night's work. No, not the little people of old Ireland either. You've made more enemies, Mr. Henkin, than you'll ever see. But you'll be knowing they're there.
Fiddlesticks, you can't frighten me with your stupid Irish superstition. Well, bless my soul, that was a charming little party, I must say.
Englishmen like Hankin are a disgrace to their country. Fortunately, they're not represented, though.
Yes, I must say, I hate to have a curse put on me like that barmaid laid on him.
Watson,
Yes?
did you see the glances which Mr. Hankin's partner and his wife exchanged as the brawl started? There was more menace to him in those glances than in all the threats of all the little people in Ireland.
Yeah. I thought that there was something between them. I say, Holmes, that bet about Hankin kissing the Blarney Stone at noon tomorrow, do you
I
suppose...
suppose nothing, old fellow. But there are forces at work here that I don't like. I think, Watson, that you and I will be at the Blarney Stone at noon tomorrow. It's possible that the bet made tonight is all part of a definite plan, and I have a feeling that the bet is still on. Quite windy up here today, old fellow, at the top of the tower, isn't it?
Yes, it's just past noon. I wonder if that man Hankin is going to keep to the terms of his bet.
We shall soon learn. In the meanwhile, are you sure that you wouldn't like to change your mind and kiss the Blarney Stone yourself?
I'm quite sure they could. Ah, here they come now.
Yes. Hankin as his partner, Mr. Corcoran. The bet is on, Watson. Good day to you, gentlemen.
Oh, hello. It's my friends from last night. Well, I see you're going through with the bet, son.
Oh, yes. Jeffrey set his mind on the 10 pounds of mine. Your wife didn't accompany you, Mr. Hankin.
No, she didn't. I'm afraid I'm rather in disgrace for my behavior last night. Molly made me go around and see that waiter fellow that I hit. I offered him money, but he wouldn't take it.
Did you offer him an apology?
Apologize to a waiter? I should say not. Well, come on, let's get this stupid farce over with.
Are you sure your nerves can stand it, Jeffrey? There's a drop of 100 feet or more below you.
Oh, don't worry about me, Michael. Just hold on to my ankles tightly and don't let go. I climb onto the parapet. There we are. Now hold on to my feet, Michael, and lower me gently.
I'm holding you, Jeffrey.
And lower me.
Right you are, Jeffrey.
Great Scott, I wouldn't do that for £100. Sliding head first down a vertical wall. That's enough, Michael. I can reach the stone.
Oh, his boots! They're slipping through my fingers. I can't hold it. Let me help you.
I'm slipping. Follow me.
Hold on to him. Hold on to him. Oh, he's got him. I just couldn't hold him.
All right, I'm going to go cut these papers. I'll be back.
No man could survive that drop.
Mr. Corcoran, you deliberately let your partner slip to his death. This is murder.
But I don't understand. I'm a strong man. But he just vanished out of my hands like a greased pig.
Let me see your hands, Mr. Corcoran.
This is dreadful. Dreadful.
There's grease on your hands. Grease. And with a faint trace of boot blacking.
Good Lord, Holmes, that
It means,
means...
Watson, that someone, knowing that Hankin was going to kiss the Blarney Stone, smeared his boots with grease, so that he would slip out of the grasp of whoever was holding him. As clever a method of indirect long-distance murder as ever I've encountered.
You'll hear the remainder of Dr. Watson's story in just a second, so I'm going to remind you that Petri California Sherry is not only wonderful before dinner, but it's good almost any time. If you had to choose just one wine for almost any occasion, that wine would be Petri Sherry. Petri Sherry is a perfect wine to serve in the afternoon or in the evening. It's good before dinner, yes, but it's swell after dinner, too. In fact, with a bottle of Petri Sherry on your shelf, you've got practically a small-sized wine cellar. So get a bottle of Petri Sherry soon. And remember, you can't miss with any wine that has the letters P-E-T-R-I on the label, because all Petri wine is good wine. Dr. Watson, this is quite a story you're telling us tonight. What happened next? I suppose you went down into the castle grounds and looked for the dead man's body?
Well, we tried to, Mr. Bartell, but the authorities were curiously uncooperative. They refused to let us search, insisting that the police be called first. And so, Mr. Bartell, half an hour after the tragedy, Holmes and I found ourselves standing in a tiny police station as we told the story to the local sergeant.
Sure the saints be praised, Mr. Holmes. 'Tis a terrible story you've told me. Tomorrow I'll be after arresting Sean O'Flaherty.
Sean O'Flaherty? He's the waiter at the inn, the one who sings.
That he is, and he sings like a breath of spring. I'll be sorry to see him hang.
But you've got no proof that he was responsible for the murder?
Proof, you say, sir? Well, I can't arrest a big manufacturing man like Mr. Cochran, can I? Or a fine lady like Mrs. Hank.
But you can't arrest a man without any evidence of guilt.
Oh, I can't I? Then supposing I tell you that Sean O'Flaherty cleans the boots at the hotel where Mr. Hankin was staying.
He does, eh? Then he had the perfect opportunity for the greasing of Hankins' boots this morning. And we know he had a motive for harming him.
You're right, sir. And from what I have heard of the dead man's behavior last night, half a dozen people could have heard him make the bet that he'd kiss the Blarney Stone today. Sean O'Flaherty's our man. I'll have to arrest him tomorrow.
Tomorrow? But good heavens, man, aren't you going to do something today? A murderer's at large.
Today is blessed St. Patrick's Day. Oh, I should let the poor fella have the day in peace. Oh, he won't run away.
Oh, my dear son. Will you come back with me to the castle and search for the body? They refuse to let me do it alone.
On St. Patrick's Day? That I will not. We would need a crew of helpers, and where will I be after getting them on the blessed St. Patrick's Day? No, we'll do that tomorrow, too. No, today is a day for celebration.
Oh, your methods astound me, Sergeant.
Do they now, sir? Don't be after fretting about me. Just enjoy yourself today. Tomorrow we'll see what can be done about it. Well, good day to you, gentlemen.
Oh, bless my soul. I've never seen such a happy-go-lucky policeman in my life.
It's infuriating. If only I were allowed to examine Hankins' body, I could get to the bottom of this.
Well, what are you going to do now, Holmes?
Police won't help us. Then we must take the law into our own hands. I think we'll start off by going to the hotel and seeing what we can find out from Sean O'Flaherty.
Going to Ballymoor a day I will remember, for to view the lads and lasses on the 5th day of November with a murring do a day and a murring a do a daddy. Oh, your honours would be after speaking to me, Sean O'Flaherty, perhaps?
Yes, Sean. Did you know that Mr. Hankin, the man who struck you last night, was dead?
Dead? Well, if ever a man deserved to be beneath the sod, 'twas Geoffrey Hankin himself. A mean, ugly man. The saints be praised that he's gone. How did he die, sir?
He was murdered.
Murdered? Well, but, Dad, I'm not surprised to hear it. Who murdered him, sir?
At the moment, the police seem to think that you are the culprit.
Myself? Well, how would I be after murdering the man, sir, when I don't even know how he died?
He died when he fell from the top of Blarney Castle as he was trying to kiss the stone.
He fell because Mr. Cochran, his partner, couldn't hold on to his feet. His boots had been greased.
And we know that you have been cleaning his boots, Sean.
That I have, sir. I cleaned them this very morning. But I put no grease on them, if that's what you'd be after suggesting.
I'm suggesting nothing. I'm trying to establish a few facts. Do you know Kathleen, the barmaid?
Oh, and why shouldn't I know her, sir? She's a beamy wife before the winter sets in.
She pronounced a curse on the dead man last night, just after he had knocked you down. It's possible that she may...
Here she comes, huh?
Sean, my darling, what are the fine gentlemen doing today?
Oh, Kathleen. They've come to ask me questions about the death of Mr. Hankin. He fell off Blarney Castle today and got himself murdered, they say.
The saints be praised. But what has that to do with you, my darling?
Well, the gentlemen tell me that the village police think that I might have greased his boots so that he slipped to his death.
The village police is as stupid as my father's big sow. If Mr.
Still have all
Hankin
my
fell to his
fingers.
death today because his boots were greased, I can tell you who did it.
Indeed, who?
The little people. I warned Mr. Hankin last night that the little people would be after him.
The
He
little people.
insulted the Irish.
Oh, come, my dear. You don't seriously expect us to believe in the little people?
And why not, Your Honor? We have them here. Oh, they're supposed to say the fairies all be dead, but I know different. I've seen them. When I was a slip of a girl, close to where I lived, there was a rat. That's a fort, you know. And the rat was a fairy's fort. We never dared touch it with a spade or cut down a tree growing on it or carry away a stone. We put our ear to the ground at night and we could hear the fairy music rising up from under the ground. Oh, they're gentle people. Most of the time. But they'd grease the boots of a man like Mr. Henkin if they didn't like them. That they would, Your Honor.
Holmes, I'm certain that we're wasting our time here.
I feel so, Watson. You get the whole thing turned on the greasing of those boots. If only I could have the boots in my hands. If only I could make laboratory tests. But until that dolt of a police... But of course! I have it, Watson.
You have what, Holmes?
The answer, I hope. Get hold of Mrs. Henkin and Mr. Corcoran. Have them meet me in the Blarney Stone Tower in half an hour.
And you, where are you going?
To the police station to try and convince the sergeant that even though it's St. Patrick's Day, it's his duty to help me trap a murderer.
You know, Mr. Holmes, you're an obstinate man. It's blessed St. Patrick's Day, and yet you insist that we meet here on the top of Blarney Castle. What do you think you can prove?
Who murdered Geoffrey Henkin?
Yes, but why do Molly and I have to be here?
Yes, Mr. Holmes. And poor Geoffrey's body's still lying somewhere below us.
Mrs. Henkin and Mr. Corcoran, I asked Dr. Watson to bring you here for a good reason, I assure you. You ready, Watson?
Quite ready, Holmes?
Good. Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
You asked me why I've assembled the three of you here. I'm going to reconstruct the crime. I shall play the part of the victim. My friend Dr. Watson will represent you, Mr. Corcoran. Now, I straddle the parapet. So. Now, Watson, hold on to my feet, Bill.
I've got him, Holmes.
And lower me down the face of the wall.
Right, sure. Holmes, hold tight to the wall. Try and push yourself back. The murderer's trying to get you. Your boots are covered in grease. Come away.
I've got him, Holmes.
Up you come. There we go. Oh, and you're that's a near thing.
Devilish plot, Sergeant, and very cleverly carried out. My boots were ungreased when I entered the castle, and yet someone has been able to apply grease to them without my knowledge within the last few minutes.
Sure, and how is that possible, sir?
I don't know, Sergeant, I must confess.
Holmes, you stumbled as you came up the darkened staircase. Do you remember that?
Sure, chap, I've forgotten. And you, Mrs. Henkin, and you, Mr. Corcoran, were kind enough to assist me to my feet. An excellent opportunity to apply the grease. Now we know that one of you two is the murderer. You must have a jar of grease somewhere. Now, Sergeant, will you search the lady while I search Mr. Corcoran?
But this is ridiculous.
Of course it is. How could we be guilty?
Well, if you're not guilty, you've got no objection to being searched.
On my word, here in your purse, Mrs. Hank, there's a jar of grease.
What?
Now, what have you to say for yourself?
Can't you say, Sergeant? Except that she engineered her husband's murder and tried to engineer mine.
Oh, no. I knew nothing about Geoffrey's murder. Oh, Michael, darling, I swear to you.
Don't worry, my darling. I'll not let them hurt you. I'm telling you, you're wrong, Mr. Holmes. I was the murderer.
Oh, no, Michael. You mustn't sacrifice yourself for
I
me.
think this little play acting has gone far enough. Mr. Corcoran, you have just offered us what you think we will accept as a false confession. But I've established the one thing I wish to know, that you love your late partner's wife and she you.
I'm proud to admit that, Mr. Holmes. And now that she's a widow, I can say it in the open. But what are you implying?
That you murdered your partner.
But the grease on your own boot, sir. I just found a jar of it, Mrs. Hank. I'm back.
Oh, that, my dear Sergeant, was all part of my little plan. As to the grease on my boots, I confess I placed it there myself. Just as I planted the jar of grease in your bag.
Why, Holmes?
A fraud accomplished two ends. It forced you, Mr. Corcoran, into a betrayal of your love. But what was more important, it proved from what Dr. Watson's natural reactions were that a man holding the greased boots could not fail to realize that fact at once. You brazenly committed murder before our very eyes, Mr. Corcoran, hoping to appear as an innocent victim of another's plot.
Your theory is an ingenious one, Mr. Holmes, but how can you prove it? I can claim that my hands are unusually insensitive, not the delicate fingers of a doctor like your friend.
Yes, he's right, sir. How can you prove it?
When, with your kind cooperation, Sergeant, we find the body of Mr. Henkin and examine it, I shall study his boots. If the grease was applied at the hotel, as it would have been if Sean O'Flaherty had done it, the boots will reveal dust from the walk here. If there is no dust, the grease must have been applied as you grasped your partner's boots with grease-smeared hands, Mr. Corcoran. You should know best what my tests will
Grab him,
reveal.
Sergeant. Grab him.
Come back. Oh, Michael, don't. Please don't.
Goodbye, Molly, my darling.
No!
Great Scotty. He jumped off the parapet.
Now, Mr. Holmes, you can see that I was right, sir. Wasn't I?
What do you mean, Sergeant?
In waiting until tomorrow to get the search party. Now we can be after finding both bodies at the one time. Well, I'm sure Dr. Watson's ready for us. Let's go in and join him, shall we?
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Bartell.
Evening, Doctor.
Quiet on you. Lie down.
Dogs seem very pleased with themselves tonight. Did they have a good day?
Yes, the three of us did, my boy. Go on, run off out the patio. I took a 7-iron and some old golf balls on the beach this afternoon. I proved my game, I think, and the dogs had a great time chasing the golf balls. On the way home, the little rascals had a furious battle with an elderly pelican, so their day was complete.
I'll have to join you on one of your afternoon strolls, Doctor. You and the dogs seem to have so much fun.
Oh, I'll be glad of your company, Mr. Bartell. Well, draw up your usual chair, and I'll get on with tonight's
she's a
Sherlock
big
Holmes
Cooper's.
adventure.
From the hint you gave us last week, I guess a Frenchman played a prominent part in the story?
Yes, indeed he did, Mr. Bartell. His name was Francois Lavilla.
All right, we're going to pick up there with Francois tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here, helping us get that shipment ready to go. It's only 2 grips, a grip pack and a single grip. But we're going to jump into getting that 300 dummy printed out, I think is going to be the next thing. I don't have any experiments to do at the moment. I might continue to experiment with adding texture and cutting out the dragon and getting our dragon breath hand guard system put together. Still continuing down that path. So texture, well, 300 printing, texture in Blender, and coring out our dragon for M-lock attachment. Or Picatinny top rail attachment. That's the plan. Thank you so much for being here today.